Jibreel I was mentioning. The hadith of Jibreel, without going into the details, just to give a synopsis and summary of the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam, very famous hadith reported by Imam Muslim and other muhadithun, where Jibreel alayhi salam came as a stranger to the Sahaba. Yes. And he sat down from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu anhu mentions that we were all watching him. We couldn't recognize who he was. And nor did he look like a traveler, because he had beautiful white clothes on. He didn't have any marks, any stains of safar journey. He sat down from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فَأَسْنَدَ رُكْبَتَيْهِ إِلَى رُكْبَتَيْهِ. The hadith mentions, in tashahhud position, he joined his knees with the knees of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he asked him four main questions, three main questions and four additional question to do with eschatology, qiyamah. The three main questions were, "O Muhammad, tell me what is Islam, what is Iman, and what is Ihsan." You've heard this hadith. And the Prophet ﷺ defined Islam, he defined Iman, and he defined Ihsan, and then the Prophet ﷺ gives some signs of Qiyamah, and then this person went. Prophet ﷺ told the Sahaba that this person who came, فَإِنَّهُ جِبْرَائِيل, he was Jibreel alayhi salam, and the reason he came like this, in this manner, asking me questions, and I was answering them, أَتَاكُمْ يُعَلِّمُكُمْ دِينَكُمْ, so he can teach you your deen. So the ulama mentioned the hadith of Jibreel is known as hadith of Jibreel. This entire hadith is the khulasa, or the fundamentals of our deen. Because the Prophet ﷺ used the word deen. أَتَاكُمْ يُعَلِّمُكُمْ دِينَكُمْ. He came to teach you your deen. So now the three main components in this hadith: Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. These are like the three pillars of the deen. So when the Prophet ﷺ defined Islam, what did he define Islam as? Does anybody remember? Shahada, Salah, Tu'ti Zakah, Tasum Ramadan, Tahajjud. 5 pillars. Yes? 5 pillars, as we know: declaration, praying Salah, fasting the month of Ramadan, Zakat and Hajj. This is Islam. What did the Prophet ﷺ define Iman as?
6.
Yes?
6 articles of faith.
6 articles of faith. Ahsant. Firmly believing in those 6 things. Which 6 things? تؤمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر وتؤمن بالقدر خيره وشره. To have firm belief and yaqeen, certitude in Allah, وكتبه, the books, رسله, the prophets, the angels, the final day, qiyamah, and the good and bad, taqdeer. This all good and bad is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the preordained matters. This was Iman. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam defined Ihsan as the awareness inside worship. You are worshipping Allah in such a way, as though you are seeing Allah. And if you can't gain this stage, then know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you. Now, as we say, khushu' and khudu, devotion, concentration inside worship is known as Ihsan. There's 2 types of Ihsan. There's one Ihsan which is to do with mu'amalat and mu'ashara, social life and transactions where you are kind to one another. Ihsan in ibadah means different. And in this hadith is referred to Ihsan in ibadah, which means this awareness and concentration. So you have Islam, you have Iman, and you have Ihsan. These are the 3 components of the deen, as mentioned in the hadith of Jibreel. Now, what is the science of Islam? Today I'm going to use a Socratic approach. Socratic approach, I'm going to ask questions. Yes, so if you quickly register, inshallah, instead of me just speaking all day. What is the science of Islam? What science deals with the apparent actions? Look, what are the 5 actions in there? Declaration, Salah, Siyam, Zakat. These are actions to do with the outward body. Yes? They're all to do with the physical and the outward, the a'mal zahira, the apparent a'mal. So what is the science? Which science in Islam discusses, debates the a'mal zahira, the outward actions? Fiqh. Yes? Fiqh. You open fiqh and that's all it does. That's the objective, that's the maqsid of fiqh. Alhamdulillah. Which science deals with Iman? Aqidah. Alhamdulillah. Imran, brother, I forgot your name.
Ridwan.
Ridwan, Ridwan. MashaAllah. Aqidah. Because Iman was Iman to do, believing in those 6 things from the heart. So this is internal action. Iman is to do with internal. Islam is external, Iman is, that's one of the differences. There's ikhtilaf among scholars whether Iman and Islam is same or different. The most correct opinion, according to Imam, many of the theologians, including Imam Maidani, etc., that Islam and Iman are different, but they're intrinsically connected. So wherever there's Islam, there's Iman. Wherever there's Iman, there's Islam. But the subtle difference is that Iman is to do with the internal actions, believing in those 6 things, and Islam is to do with the external actions. So the science that deals and discusses and debates Iman is Aqidah, which is creed. Do you understand where he's coming from? So Iman is the Quranic word, the Hadith word. Iman is the word that's mentioned in the Quran and Hadith. Aqidah is a nomenclature. It is like a scientific word that was devised by the scholars later. Like fiqh, like many other sciences of usul hadith, for example, usul tafsir. These words you don't find in the hadith. Sahih, da'if, hasani, ghayr, hasani, dhati. The terminologies of hadith you don't find, but they discuss hadith. The objective is there to preserve hadith. So the same way the Aqidah, the science of Aqidah is there to preserve Iman. Like fiqh is there to preserve Islam, Aqidah is there to preserve Iman. Does everybody understand? And then we had the third word, Ihsan. What's the science of Ihsan? Tasawwuf. Sufis. Some people have allergy with Tasawwuf. So Tazkiyah. Yes, Tazkiyah. Tasawwuf. Objective is same. Is to clean the internal soul. To gain that maqam and that place of ubudiyah where you just have Allah in front of you all the time. This is the objective of tasawwuf, of ihsan. So today in the hadith of Jibreel, which part or which component are we discussing? The Iman, which is Aqidah. And then you have something advanced after Aqidah is called Kalam. You have Iman, Aqidah and Kalam. Kalam is something that is like a master's level in Aqidah. The difference between Aqidah and Iman is, Kalam is, Aqidah is the science of Iman. Kalam is the science of Aqidah. So one of the differences between Aqidah and Kalam is, in Aqidah you only mention the Aqaid with their brief evidences. So in Aqidah, in the science of Aqidah, what happens in Iman? You pick up Ta'lim al-Haq, for example, you pick up any other book, basically just tell you believe in this, that's it, yes? Or even Aqid Tahawiyah, for example. Aqid Tahawiyah is basically a book of Aqidah. It just tells you believe in this, or any other book. But science of Aqidah, like this book, very concise treatise, it will tell you what you need to believe in and why. Brief evidence. Brief. So Aqidah is إثبات الأقاعد بأدلتها الإجمالية والتفصيلية, like the scholars say. The Aqidah is to know your tenets of belief regarding Allah, regarding Rasul, etc., with their brief evidence. Brief evidence. Then Kalam is dialectical theology. In Kalam there's one step further. Is Ithbatul Aqaid, and then there's Dafu Shubahat. It also discusses with the objections. So that goes all into the debate with the atheism and agnosticism, etc. That's Kalam. So we're not going to go that deep today. Today we're just doing Aqaid, Aqidah. Just to know our Aqidah about Allah, as Rasul, etc. with the brief evidence. Aqidah has 3 names. You have Aqidah, Ilm al-Tawheed, and Ilm Usul al-Din. These are the 3 names of Aqidah. Aqidah means creed. Ilm Usul al-Din means the knowledge of the fundamentals of the Deen. And Ilm al-Tawheed is knowledge of divine unicity. These are the three different names for creed. They're all the same subjects. So wherever you are Aqidah, Ilm Usul al-Din or Ilm al-Tawheed, they're all referring to Aqidah. They're all referring to a creed. They're all referring to the science of Iman. طيب? Does everybody understand? So Aqidah is the science of Iman. The Aqidah is the science of Iman. What's the linguistic meaning of Aqidah? I just told you what Aqidah is. I've just introduced it to you. I'm going to give you the linguistic meaning. The linguistic meaning of Aqidah, as the scholars mention, is from Aqada Ya'qid wa Aqada, is to tie a knot. In Arabic language, the linguistic meaning, the literal meaning, linguistic meaning, if you open the Arabic dictionary, this is the meaning you will find. Aqidah means to tie a knot. And why is Aqidah called Aqidah? What linkage does it have with the linguistic meaning? Because in Aqidah we have to believe in certain things, don't we? With firm conviction and certitude. And when you tie a knot, tying a knot also exemplifies strength, yaqeen. Do you see the resemblance? Or do you see the similarity or the linkage? This is why it's called Aqidah. طيب? This is the linguistic meaning. What's the technical meaning of Aqidah? The technical meaning of Aqidah is to believe in all those things which are necessary upon every mukallaf. It's very brief. To believe in all those things which are necessary upon every mukallaf. What does mukallaf mean? Legally responsible. We'll go into this discussion. What is a mukallaf? Further on, inshallah. But this is just the technical meaning of Aqidah. To believe in all those things which are necessary upon every mukallaf. And what are those things? We're going to, inshallah, go through them today. That's the objective today. Today is very just a fundamental foundation. Everybody should say, in this course is very important. Just the fundamentals. So we know the linguistic meaning of Aqidah. Aqidah means creed. So when you say introduction to Islamic Creed, what does it mean? Introduction to Aqidah. That's what it means, okay? So today the title that you have in front of you, Introduction to Islamic Creed, is referring to introduction to Aqidah. And Aqidah is referring to the science of Iman, mentioned in Hadith of Jibreel. There are main three topics that we discuss in Aqidah. So you know the linguistic meaning, you know the technical meaning. Now there are three main topics that we discuss in Aqidah. Ilahiyat. Ilahiyat. What does Ilahiyat mean? Everything to do with Allah. Ilahiyat means everything to do with Allah. Nabawiyat. That's the second topic we discuss. Nabawiyat. Nabawiyat means everything to do with the prophets. These are the three topics that are discussed. The subject matters. And what's the mawdu of Aqidah? As I say, what's the mawdu? What's the mawdu of tafsir? Commentary of the Quran. What's the subject of tajweed? Letters of the Quran. And what does it discuss? So what's the mawdu? What's the subject matter of Aqidah? Is three. Ilahiyat, number one. Number two, Nabawiyat. Nabawiyat means everything to do with the prophets. And number three, Sam'iyat. Sam'iyat is to do with the Akhirah. So the other three words that might be more familiar to you, brothers and sisters, our Tabligh brothers say also, and we hear, Tawheed, Risalat, Akhirat. Tawheed, Risala and Akhirat. So that is Ilahiyat, Nabawiyat and Sam'iyat. Tawheed is the Ilahiyat. Yes? Risala, the prophethood, that's Nabawiyat. And Akhirah, that's Sam'iyat. Yes? Everybody understand? Alhamdulillah. I told you that the name of this science has three names. Aqidah, you know why it's called Aqidah.
Yeah.
Number two, Ilm Usul al-Din. Why is it called Ilm Usul al-Din? Because it to do with fundamentals of the Usul means the fundamentals. And why is it called Ilm al-Tawheed? The knowledge of divine unicity. Even though we discussed three topics, don't we? We discussed Tawheed, Risala and Akhirah. But because Tawheed is the most important topic, is the most ashraf and afdal topic, is the most blessed, most virtuous topic of all the three, that's why the entire science has been based after just the name Tawheed. It doesn't mean that we only discuss Tawheed. It's because this is the most noble topic. The entire science has been named Ilm Tawheed. That's one of the names. Alhamdulillah. Any questions?
Yeah. What was the third? It was
Ilahiyat,
Ilahiyat.
Nabawiyat. Ilahiyat is from Ilah.
Okay. And the third one?
Sam'iyat. Sam'iyat. You can say Akhirat too. Akhirat is. I'm just doing sometimes these words for brothers like Ridwan. Faida for them, inshallah. Sam'iyat, or you can say Akhirat. Same synonyms. So today, brothers, you brothers and sisters are acting upon a very important verse of the Quran, an order of Allah. Which verse? Okay, if any sisters have any questions, inshallah, just pass them on to the Abba, inshallah, and then we will answer those questions too, inshallah. If any of the sisters have any questions. The verse inside Surah Muhammad, which is Surah 47, chapter 47, verse number 19, where Allah instructs us, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Surah Muhammad, Surah 47, verse 19. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Know that there is no God but Allah. Down here, the ulama mentioned Allah used the word fa'lam. Fa'lam is from ilm, meaning gain knowledge. Don't just say, don't just know, gain ilm, gain knowledge regarding La ilaha illallah. And this is imperative. Fa'lam is an imperative scale, meaning Allah is ordering you and I. So this is what you're doing today. You're gaining knowledge, you're gaining ilm regarding La ilaha. That's what Imam Ghazali, the polymath and the theologian and the Sufi, mentions that you cannot, your worship is not accepted until you know who you are worshipping. Your worship is not accepted until you know who you are worshipping. Allahu Akbar. This is one of the objectives today. We know who is Allah. Yes. Today we can talk about so many things, subhanallah. When it comes to talking about Allah, what happens? Youngsters, talk to the youngsters, they know about the football teams, 11 players, substitutes, they even know about their wives, some of them. They know how much wage they get. Everything. You ask them, talk about 5 minutes about Allah. I want to share a poetry to do with Aqidah. I mentioned to you in the beginning of the lesson, the fiqh fiqh al-akbar was the greatest fiqh was Aqidah, and al-fiqh al-asghar was the normal jurisprudence that we have. So there's a poetry, very nice in English. Just listen to it, subhanallah. O you who seeks to be nourished by knowledge. O you who seeks to be nourished by knowledge. Jazakumullah khairan. Every knowledge is a servant to Islamic theology. Every knowledge is a servant to Islamic theology, meaning Aqidah, creed. Because without Aqidah without Iman is your tafsir accepted. Without Iman is your hadith accepted. Without Iman, nothing is accepted. No amal is accepted without Iman. So all you who seeks to be nourished by knowledge, every knowledge is a servant to Islamic theology. You seek knowledge of jurisprudence, meaning fiqh, salah, siyam. You seek knowledge of jurisprudence to know rulings. Again, you seek knowledge of jurisprudence to know rulings, yet are heedless of the one who revealed the rulings. Yet are heedless of the one who Reveal the rulings. So fiqh is about the rulings. Aqidah is about the one who revealed the rulings. Allahu Akbar. See how important Aqidah is? People might say I'm biased because that's the only thing I teach and study. Yeah. One person goes, well, after seeing your dust, I think the only subject is Aqidah. I go, no, there's other subjects too. But in this time, you have to be extreme on Aqidah because there's a lot of negligence happening with Aqaid. People are not teaching Aqidah anymore, unfortunately. And it's the biggest challenge today. Aqidah, people are suffering, and it's because of Aqidah. But subhanAllah, there's no system in the madaris, there's no system in the masajid. It's ajib. With Sheikh Zahid, I've had so much discussion. Alhamdulillah, he started in the Safa now. I teach there twice a week for the last 2 years. Alhamdulillah. So many scholars have discussed this. There's no program. There's no system in place for Aqidah to be taught. Not just on public level. Like I said, like the Tablighi Jamaat said, Ta'aleem at home, Ta'aleem in women. In the same way, we need to have Aqidah Ta'aleem everywhere. That's the only way we're going to counter the kufr that is being spread in our schools and universities to our youngsters. Okay, so Alhamdulillah, let's start now. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So what's the tartib? Are we doing 1 hour then break or?
Breaks at 12:15.
The first break at 12:15. Acha, theek hai.
So do you know how you want to do?
Yeah, no, I just don't want people to switch off, that's all. If anybody needs a break, just let me know then. Okay? There's tea at the back, inshallah. Put 2 tea bags in for yourself. Keep you awake. Ijazat hai? Bhai, 2 tea bags. Brother, okay. Allah took ijazat for you too, alhamdulillah. Okay, so this is the study version written by Imam Al-Bajuri, rahimahullah ta'ala. I have the book in front of me. But inside this book, there's one study version, and the objective of this study version is courses like this, where you can, inshallah, go through the basics regarding Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam in a day, and just instill that confidence why we believe in these things. The reason I'm saying why again and again, look, we are living in the West now. I know there are certain people who have problems with Islamic dialectical theology, or shall I say, articulating your beliefs in a rational ways, because our Aqidah is not based on Aql. Our Aqidah is not based on Aql. And that's true, our Aqidah is not based on Aql. Our Aqidah is based on Quran, Sunnah. We never said our Aqidah is based on Aql. What we say is, we understand our Aqidah through Aql. There's a difference. And I might have to drop a few names, and the reason I have to do this, because this is now, it's public, it's on Ghiba, and it's on social media, it's on YouTube. Dr. Yasir Qadi, a knowledgeable person from America, I watched one of his videos a few weeks ago, and he said the Ash'ira, Maturidiyya, these are 2 main schools of Islamic theology, they base their Aqidah on Aql. They base their Aqidah on Aql. So, with all due respect to Dr. Saab, this is a misconception from him. He hasn't studied the Aqidah of the Ash'ira. And if he has studied Ash'ari Aqidah, he studied probably the refutation, or he's probably studied the books, but without studying with the scholars of the Ash'ari. You cannot understand Aqidah and the intricate matters of Aqidah just by studying yourselves. Yes. Can you become a doctor just studying the books yourselves? You need to stay in the company of a trained doctor, yes? But in the same way, Aqidah, the same thing. So he said Aqidah, the Aqaid of the Ash'ari Maturidi, because the reason I'm saying Ash'ari Maturidi, these are the 2 main schools in Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah, and today's dars is based on their methodology. That's why I'm mentioning this. So he said the Aqidah, they established the Aqidah through Aql, through intellect. Now this is a misconception, because according to the Ash'ari and Maturidiyya, these are 2 schools, valid schools from the Ahl Sunnah. They don't have any fundamental difference. The only difference they have is to do with methodology. And most of the Ummah is Ash'ari or Maturidi. All the Mufassirun, Imam Razi, Qurtubi, either Ash'ari or Maturidi. The Muhaddithun, Ibn Hajar, and Nawawi, and Zahabi, they're either Ash'ari or Maturidi. So Ash'ari Maturidi is not a small group from Pakistan, India, is most of the Ummah. Alhamdulillah. So, according to Ash'ari, Aql is mudrik, is not muthbit. Meaning, through Aql we understand. We don't establish anything. We don't establish Aqidah. We understand the Aqidah. And the reason we use our aql is because number one is established from the Quran. Allah again and again in the Quran said, "Afala ta'qilun." What, do you use your intellect? "Afala tatadabbarun." Do you introspect? Do you contemplate? So there are some brothers who are against this sort of methodology that you're not supposed to use your aql to understand Aqidah. But the irony is, when they're debating Hyde Park with the atheist, they use the same methodology. Why? Because the atheist does not believe in Quran and Hadith. You need to convince him about Allah. You need to convince him that Allah exists. You can't give him a Quranic verse. If you give him Quranic verse, he will say, I don't believe in the Quran. But then you will say to him, Allah says believe in the Quran. This is called circular reasoning. This is an invalid form of argumentation, where you use a reference as evidence which is not accepted from the onset. So they don't believe in the Quran and Hadith to be a reference. So in the West, when we give dawah to non-Muslims, can we use Quran and Hadith all the time? Yes, there are certain parts we can. Where, for example, atheist, if we're speaking about the existence of God, can you give him Quran? That Allah says in the Quran that He exists?
No.
He doesn't believe in the Quran. That's the whole issue. If he believed in the Quran, he'd be a Muslim. So we need to come into common terms, something that he believes in and we believe in, and alhamdulillah, we both believe that we have aql, we have intellect, we have sound mind. If he doesn't believe in that, then don't argue with him. If he's doubting realities, you get some atheists and philosophers who doubt realities, sophists. They doubt realities. The Descartes philosophy is that nothing is like, everything's a dream. There's no definitive evidence that we really exist. And shouldn't be quoting movies, but one of my philosophy essays was based on this. The Matrix movie. Rizwan's about to say, but then, it's based on this philosophy. And a lot of Western philosophers and atheists believe in this, that everything is just a dream, or it's not a reality. If they believe in that, it's dope. Allama Taftazani says, don't engage with them. Just burn a fire, make them sit on them. When they feel the heat of the fire, they'll realize that the reality of fire does exist. I'm not, by the way, I'm not promoting this. It's a hypothetical scenario in some ancient book, which I don't have with me. So there's no point arguing with the person who doesn't believe in sound mind and logic. There's no point there. But usually, people agree on these principles. So that's why the Ash'ari and Maturidi have put these foundations. And most of the time, 90%, if not 99% of the time, when an atheist says to you, I don't believe in God. If an atheist says to you, I don't believe in God, what should your response be?
That's a belief in itself.
Doesn't believe, yes, that's an ilzami jawab, accusative response. But if if an atheist says, I don't believe in God, the response I give is, which God do you believe in? Which God do you believe in? 99.9% of the time, the God that they do believe in, we don't believe in too. They have this image, a very Christian doctrine, anthropomorphic, corporealistic image of God sitting on a throne inside the heavens with a big white beard, and he has a staff and he's about to throw lightning through the staff. We do also believe in this God. Thus, articulating and explaining Allah in a rational way through His sifat, which we're going to do today, inshallah. This is how you give da'wah to them. And look, okay, you don't believe in this God. Well, I don't believe in that God, so we're both the same at the moment. Ah, that's interesting. What God do you believe in? Oh, look, we believe in this God. And these are rationally necessary for you. Intellect. If you use your intellect, you will realize it's rationally necessary for a God to be like this because of the evidence that we have around us. So these, I'm just telling you some of the benefits of Aqidah. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, page 63. Okay, and I have one copy in front of me, so I'll follow this too in case there's any discrepancies or. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ba'd. فيقول فقير رحمة ربه الخبير البصير إبراهيم الباجوري ذو التقصير He was a great scholar from Cairo, Egypt, not too long ago, a couple of 100 years ago. He has written many works, many commentaries, many annotations on books. فطلب مني بعض الإخوان أصلح الله لي ولهم الحال والشأن أن أكتب له رسالة لطيفة تشتمل على صفات المولى وأضدادها وما يجوز في حقهم تعالى وعلى ما يجب في حق الرسل وما يستحيل في حقهم وما يجوز. I'll just stick to the English inshallah because we don't have time to go through the Arabic as well. From now, I'll just stick to the English inshallah. He mentions, Imam Bajuri, the author of this work, mentions, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds. May prayers and peace be showered upon the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Says the remis, faqir, negligent, the sign of humility. Says the remis, he's referring to himself, the lowly one, the one that is in need. One in need of the mercy of his omniscient and all-seeing Lord. Imam al-Bajuri, Ibrahim al-Bajuri his name is, informs that a brother, may Allah reform him and me, asked me to write for him a good treatise dealing with the attributes of the Lord and their antithesis. So now what was Imam Bajuri Rahmatullahi saying here? Basically he's saying that brother requested me, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aslih Allah li sha'ni wa sha'nahu, may Allah what's the translation he give down here? Is may Allah reform him and me, may Allah rectify our situation. Dua. It's one of the, amongst the Arabs, this is one thing I've realized, and even the Arab teachers, they give a lot of du'as, supplications, spontaneously. What do? We say dua miyad, and we don't make dua for the person, yeah? We don't make dua for ourselves, forget making dua for anyone else. The Arabs, mashallah, if you ask them, a lot of the mashayikh I've seen, make dua for me, and they'll lift their hands up and they'll make dua spontaneously, maybe a few words, few sentences, mashallah. So they have this, you will see this in their works and their mashallah, also in their writing. So he's saying that this brother requested me that I write a small treatise, a small work, which deals regarding the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which introduces Allah and then obviously the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, basic khulasa of aqidah. What is permissible for him, Most High? What are the attributes that are rationally necessary for the divine messenger? What attributes are rationally possible for them? And what attributes are rationally impossible for them? So I undertook this effort to comply with his request. All enabling grace belongs to Allah, so seeking his aid I declare. Now he begins. Now this is just very important thing I mentioned here down here, because this is the foundation of what we're going to do today. So he's going to mention 3 things regarding Allah and 3 things regarding the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or all the prophets. So we're doing ilahiyat and nabawiyat, mainly. Number 1, what is rationally possible? What is rationally impossible for Allah? What is rationally? Or let's start with the tartib. What is rationally necessary? What is rationally necessary for Allah? Number 1. Number 2, what is rationally impossible for Allah? I'm going to explain these terms, okay? Rationally necessary, rationally impossible. What is rationally impossible for Allah? And number 2, what is rationally possible? So these are the 3 things that he's going to mention for Allah. Number 1, what is rationally necessary? Number 2, what is rationally impossible? Number 3, what is rationally possible?
This is the mustahil, wajib.
Wajib, mustahil, and mumkin, or jaiz. What's Arabic terminology? Wajib, what is rationally necessary. Number 2, mustahil, or mumtani'. The other word in aqaid books is mumtani', what is rationally impossible for Allah. And number 3, jaiz or mumkin. These are the 2 words. What is rationally possible. Now, these 3, look. These 3, rationally necessary, rationally impossible, and rationally possible. These 3 rulings are of the aql. What are these 3 rulings? They're called hukm aqli. They are rational rulings. What are they? Rationally, they are rational rulings, meaning everything that exists, and your rationale gives verdict, or your rationale gives ruling that it exists. It will be either rationally necessary, it will be or rationally impossible, or rationally possible. Does everybody understand? Yes? These three, they are all types of hukum akli. What does hukum akli mean? Those verdicts or those rulings that are given based on intellect only. Okay? I'm not going to go too much detail. I'm just giving you this explanation to understand the text. There are other types of ruling. There are other two types of ruling. We have hukum shar'i or hukum wad'i. They're both the same. Hukum shar'i and hukum wad'i. That's to do with rulings to do with legislation. Rulings to do with, or shall I say, rulings that are based on legislation. Rulings that are based on legislation. Like for example, wajib, witr wajib. Now even the word wajib came, many people are thinking, the witr wajib, according to Hanafi. No. This is not the witr wajib. Or jaiz na jaiz, Maulvi sahab, ye jaiz hai na jaiz. No, this is not this. That's shar'i. What ruling is that? That's legal ruling. Legal, that's one type of ruling. There's three types of rulings. One, we have the legal ruling. We have the legal ruling. What's based on legal ruling? The Shariat is based on legal ruling. All the policies that we have are based on legal rulings. The government policies, they're all based on legal ruling. Yes, this is one type of ruling. Or everything, these are one type of ruling. That's hukum, it's called hukum shar'i or hukum wad'i. We just keep to hukum shar'i, legal ruling. By extension, that also includes the government policies, any other business that have legal rulings and all. That's all hukum shar'i. That's one type. The second type of rulings that we have is called hukum adi. What is it called? Hukum adi. Is everybody with me? Yes? Why I'm explaining here? I'm explaining rulings. Rulings. Verdicts. Not fatwa. When you judge something. Water. This is a ruling. You've given a hukum. The water is cold. This is also a ruling. The tea is hot. This is ruling. Everything that you judge, it will be either these three. It will be either based on legal reasons you're given. Why do you say witr is wajib? Based on what? Why do you give that ruling? Akal? No. From your akal, can you understand witr is wajib? How do you know that ruling? Through Shariat. Do you understand what I'm saying? When we say ruling, it's like you give a judgment about anything. Any judgment you give in your life, any judgment, it will be either one of these three. It will either be based on legal ruling or number two. Do you understand? Number two, hukum adi. Hukum adi is normative ruling. Normative ruling. Or shall we say empirical ruling. Empirical ruling. Which ruling? Empirical ruling. Okay? Fahmt? I'll give definition of hukum adi. Don't write this down, we don't have much time, okay? But I'll just give that and explain it. And just understand what hukum adi is. إثبات الربط بين أمر وأمر وجودا وعدما بواسطة تكرر ما صح تخلف وعدم تأثير أحدهما في الآخر. This is the definition the ulama gave. There was empirical ruling. Empirical ruling is something that is based on repetition. It's based on repetition. And you give a ruling for one thing with another thing based on repetition. But there's a possibility that that ruling does not exist at the same time. Let me give you an example. Fire. Fire touches something. This is fire, this is something flammable, hypothetically speaking. Every time fire touches something flammable, what happens? Burns. Yes? Fire touches something flammable. إثبات الربط بين أمر وأمر. You've established a ruling between one thing and the other, between fire and flammable object. What have you established? Burning. And how have you established this? Based on legal ruling? No. بواسطة تكرر. Because of repetition, experience. Every time you experience fire to something flammable, what happens? It burns. Yes. But مع صحة التخلف, there's the possibility of withdrawal. Meaning, it is rationally possible that a fire touches something flammable and it does not burn. Fire touches something flammable and it does. Why? Because Allah does not want it to burn. Who creates burning? Bolo? Allah. The fire does not burn. Remember this. Obviously, if I say this in university, say, what are you talking about? But I'm talking about Aqidah now. We're talking about an Aqidah class. Yes, we're talking about Aqaidah here. According to the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, fire does not burn. Water does not quench your thirst. Who does all this? That's what the Quran says. وَيُطْعِمُنِي وَيَسْقِينِ Allah who feeds me, Allah who gives me drink. قُلْنَا يَا نَارُ كُونِي بَرْدًا وَسَلَامًا عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ. The fire was ordered not to burn. These aqaid, this is the Quran, this is how Quran discusses these issues. So, according to the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, when the fire touches something flammable, normally, that's what's called hukum adi. Normally, what happens? Normally it burns. Who creates the burning? Allah. That's what Imam Dardi says. وَمَنْ يَقُلْ بِالْعِلَّةِ أَوْ بِالطَّبْعِ فَذَلِكَ كُفْرٌ عِنْدَ أَهْلِ الْمِلَّةِ. That whoever believes in causality or nature, then this is kufr. Yani, whoever believes things happen because of their nature, or things happen because of cause and effect without Allah, this is kufr. Allahu Akbar. وَمَنْ يَقُلْ But obviously nobody believes this. When people say, the fire is burning, they're talking about, that they're just speaking the normal language. They don't believe that. You can say fire burns, you can say that. But that's how you speak. And that's how people speak. But I'm talking about Aqidah. If you ask a Muslim, is fire burning without Allah? They'll say, no. I don't believe that. Belief is something that's in the heart. You don't always mention it. So you can say, as adatan, as normative, or normally speaking, that Alhamdulillah, I've drunk water, I'm okay now. I've drunk water and my thirst has been quenched, not with the water, with only Allah. Obviously, if you say this all the time, life becomes very difficult. So normally, yes, you say these things, but i'tiqadan, in terms of belief, nobody believes, no Muslim believes that the fire burns without Allah. You ask anybody, say Allah? Of course Allah. Yes. And then Imam Dardi rahmatullahi alayhi mentioned, وَمَنْ يَقُلْ بِالْقُوَّةِ الْمُودَعَةِ. Whoever believes in deposited power, then this is bid'ah. فَذَاكَ بِدْعِيٌّ فَلَا تَلْتَفِتِ. This is innovation in i'tiqad, meaning whoever believes that the fire has got power and the power has been created by Allah, but now the fire is acting independently. So this is not kufr. Why is it not kufr? Because the person believes that the fire ultimately was created by, the power was ultimately created by Allah. But why is it innovation? Because now he believes the fire to be acting as independent agent. So what does the Muslim believe? The Muslim believes every time a fire touches something flammable, the burning that is created at that time is who? Allah. And is rationally possible. Is rationally possible. What does it mean rationally possible? Rationally possible means something that can be conceived and imagined by the mind. So can you imagine fire touches something flammable and not burning? I can. I can imagine putting my hand in the fire for a while and taking it out and it doesn't burn. It's possible. It happens. What's impossible? Let me explain impossible, then you understand what possible is. Impossible is something that the mind cannot conceive it happening. Let me give you an example. I say to you, the people in Bradford, the population in Bradford are more than the population of Walsall. And at the same time, the population in Walsall are more than the population in... Now can you conceive that? That the people in Bradford are more than the people in Walsall, but at the same time, the people in Walsall are more than the people in... So that is rationally impossible. Why is that? Impossible. So when we talk about hukum adi, normative rulings, yes, normally it happens, but it's not rationally necessary or rationally impossible not to happen. Yes? So fire is something flammable. Normally it burns, yes, but is it rationally possible that the fire touches something flammable and it does not? That's why the people who don't believe in miracles, they don't understand hukm adi. They don't understand normative rulings. There are some people, and so-called Muslims too, who reject miracles. And because obviously they're materialistic, and they only believe in the physical process of things. They don't believe in miracles. But what is miracles? What's the definition of miracle? Amrun khariq lil ada, a matter which is against the norm. Something that is against the norm. So when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam traveled Mi'raj in such a fast speed, is against the norm. But is it rationally impossible? It's against the norm. And why do Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala show miracles? Allah, what the ulama mentioned, because for Allah there's no such thing as laws of nature. People use the term, but in reality there's no laws of nature. Allah is not subject to any law of nature. They're customs of nature. They're adat. They're customs of nature. So just in case people don't have yaqeen and conviction inside the customs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes goes against the customs, against the ada, against the norm, by showing a miracle to tell us that the thing behind everything is Allah. So when Richard Dawkins said to Mehdi Hassan, do you believe that the Prophet Muhammad traveled on Mi'raj? In the Oxford Union, there was a debate or discussion. And he said, I salute him for saying, yes, I do. He didn't apologize. But obviously, Richard Dawkins, he began to mock the idea. If I was in that scenario, I would have asked him, can you please prove to me that it's rationally impossible? They can't. No philosopher of logic can prove that miracles are rationally impossible, because the definition of rationally impossible is something that you could not conceive. I mean, there are many things that could be rationally impossible adatan 50 years ago. If you told your parents or grandparents, we should send cassettes. You send cassettes to India, Pakistan, and after a month they send it back, and you listen to the recording. And in those days, if you said, after 50 years, a time will come in my life where I can speak to my relative in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, or wherever, and they can speak to me live, spontaneously, through a screen. I will be able to see you completely, you are able to see me, as though we are sitting in the same room. They'll say, something's wrong with this guy. But now it's completely conceivable, it's happening. So something being impossible in terms of adatan normally, that doesn't make it rationally impossible. Yes? So something that's adatan impossible, meaning if it doesn't happen normally, that doesn't mean it's rationally. Do you see the difference? So we have three rulings. We have hukum shari, the legal rulings. Does everybody understand this? Yes? And then we have hukum adi, the normative rulings, or the empirical, and all of the sciences, the physical science. When I say science, I'm referring to the physical science, biology, chemistry, and physics. They are all based on hukum adi. They are all based on empirical rulings. That's why a lot of people who are atheists, they're science, because their khuda is science. Yes? They want to see. It's based empirical. Empirical means something that you could experience and physically. We can't physically see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala is beyond physics, physical components, subhanahu wa ta'ala. I was talking to an atheist a few weeks ago after a bayan. We took him, he was an ex-Muslim, Allah guide him, to my friend's house. So he's saying to me, I said, why do you believe in Allah? He said, there's no evidence. I said, the creation, that's evidence. Did this come from nothing? That's rationally impossible. We will discuss. Even though Richard Dawkins believes this, many of the scientists believe that everything came from nothing. La ilaha illallah. It's ajib how Allah's blinded them, subhanallah. He said to me, no, that's not evidence. I said, what is evidence? He said, I can't see Allah. I haven't seen Allah. There's no empirical evidence that Allah exists. So I said to him, do you believe in gravity? He said, yes, I do believe in gravity. I said, show me gravity on a piece of plate, please. Take this plate. Show me gravity on there. He said, no, if I drop this plate, that's evidence of gravity. I said, no, that's evidence of the plate dropping. Show me evidence of gravity itself. He said, no, well, the plate is dropping, that is evidence that is gravity. I said, oh, okay. You're so using the plate as evidence for gravity. He said, yes. I said, yes. So we're using creation as evidence of Allah. What is the difference? And then he goes, well, it's not the same. I said, no, it is the same. What's the difference? So you have hukm shar'i, you have hukm adi, and then the third types of ruling is hukm aqli. Hukm aqli. And what are the three types of hukm aqli which I mentioned? Wajib, rationally necessary, rationally impossible, and rationally jaiz, possible. Okay, let's quickly define hukm aqli. Hukm aqli is that judgment which is based merely on the aql. That judgment which is based merely on the aql. Yani, your aql itself can conceive or imagine that thing happening. So it's not based on legal rulings and it's not based on empirical. Now do you see the aqaid, the scope of aqidah is not even hukm adi. So when people try to understand Allah through empirical rulings, they've got the whole thing wrong. Because you don't understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through hukm adi, through empirical ruling. You understand Him through your aql. Like many other things, you understand through your aql. Morality, for example. Deductive reasoning. Algebra. Yes? A lot of the equations that happen in maths, you don't have empirical methods. It's all abstract, isn't it? So in the same way, aqeedah and iman is to be the aql. It's to be understand from our aql. So the main three types of hukm aqli, number one is wajib, rationally necessary. Number two, mustahil, rationally impossible. And jaiz, rationally possible. So when the word wajib, mustahil and jaiz come in aqeedah, they're referring to hukm aqli. They are referring to judgments based on aqli. We're not talking about witr wajib or the fiqh jaiz, na jaiz. Okay, that's hukm shari. That's a totally different realm. Everybody understand?
So you discussed rationally possible and possible, but you never mentioned rationally necessary.
So I'm going to define them now.
Okay.
So what's wajib? What does wajib mean? Rationally necessary. What's the definition of wajib? La yutasawwar fil aqli adamuhu. That's the definition of wajib. La yutasawwar fil aqli adamuhu. Its non-existence cannot be perceived by the mind. Its non-existence cannot be perceived by the mind. Meaning, its existence is necessary, mandatory. What does wajib mean? Its existence cannot be perceived. Its non-existence, Its non-existence cannot be perceived by the mind. Meaning, its existence is necessary. That's what it means wajib. Wajib means necessary. And it has to exist. It can never not exist. It can never not. It has to exist all the time. That's what wajib means. That's what it says, rationally necessary. Yani your rationale, your aql will tell you that it's necessary that it has to exist. Yes? Everybody understand this term, wajib? Then we have mustahil. What's the mustahil? Mustahil is لا يتصور في العقل وجوده. Its existence cannot be perceived by the mind. Its existence cannot be perceived by the mind. Yes? Some guys are looking at me like this and this. Is it a bit intense?
Yeah, it's very intense.
Ya Allah. But are you understanding though?
50-50.
Allahu Akbar.
How can I excuse?
Alhamdulillah. We haven't started the book. The book is easy, inshallah. Hopefully. Everybody understanding? Hassan, you understanding? What's mustahil?
Rationally impossible.
Rationally impossible. What's the definition? Is its existence cannot be perceived by the mind. For example, square triangle. Can you imagine a square triangle? Can you imagine a square triangle? If it's a square, it's not a triangle. If it's a triangle, it's not.
Square.
So you know these questions people get. Oh, can God create such a big stone that He cannot lift? You heard this question? God becoming ajiz. What does this question imply? Can God be ajiz? Can God be incapable at any point? As we're going to discuss, God being incapable is rationally impossible. So the question is impossible question. The question doesn't make sense. Or can't God create another God like Himself? For another God to exist is rationally impossible, as we're going to discuss. So a lot of these questions that atheists ask, then they think, subhanallah, bahut bada tir maar liya. You ask such difficult. The question is absurd. It's like saying to them, can you make a square triangle? Square triangle by definition cannot exist. A God which is incapable by definition cannot exist. Do you understand? That's why this is very important to know what does rationally impossible means. A lot of these questions can easily be answered if you know these three types of hukum aqli, the rational rulings. Wajib, mustahil and jaiz. The word for jaiz mumkin. What does jaiz mumkin mean? Rationally possible. Rationally possible. What's the definition of rationally possible? ما يصح في العقل وجوده وعدمه. Its existence and non-existence can equally be perceived by the mind. What's rationally possible? Its existence and non-existence can equally be perceived by the mind. Yes? Its existence and non-existence can equally be perceived by the mind. For example, our existence. Everything apart from Allah is jaiz. And obviously excluding the mustahil. Mustahil don't exist anyway. The rational impossibilities don't exist. I'm talking about existing things. Existing things apart from Allah, because Allah is wajib. Where is Allah?
Wajib.
Not in the witr wajib. Wajib meaning
Necessary.
His existence is rational. Everything apart from Allah is mumkin or jaiz, meaning its existence and non-existence both can be perceived. Can you imagine the world without me and you? Of course you can. Probably be better. Yes? So jaiz, mumkin, something that you can equally perceive. Its existence and non-existence. Everybody understand? No.
This part.
Huh?
This part I do.
Alhamdulillah. So in this book, when the author says that it's necessary for us to know what is wajib for Allah, what is mustahil, meaning impossible for Allah, and what is possible for Allah. These three categorizations are of hukum aqli, rational rulings. Okay? We're not talking about legal rulings, nor are we talking about normative rulings. You know, faces like this in the courses, get worried. You guys are used to the normal courses, Jannat, Jahannami, Namaz Padho, Roza Rakho, Inshallah. Have good relationships, yes? My durus are not like that. Sometimes I don't understand them myself. You know, sometimes you study philosophy and kalam so much that you become isolated. You become isolated, you become irrelevant in society. There's nobody to speak to. Inshallah, that doesn't happen. Inshallah. Yajibu. So look, the author says, Yajibu ala kulli mukallaf. In the next paragraph, أن يعرف ما يجب في حقه تعالى وما يستحيل وما يجوز. Every accountable soul. What does every accountable soul mean? That is every sane soul possessed of reason by having come of age through the attainment of puberty is obliged by sacred law, Sharia, to know what is rationally Necessary. And what does Rashi necessary mean? Your mind could not imagine its non-existence. Wajib. To know what is Rashi necessary for him, meaning Allah, Most High. Also what is possible for him, meaning Jaiz. And also what is impossible for him. So the author is saying is necessary upon every mukallaf. Every mukallaf means every person who is legally accountable. He has to know three things. He has to know what is wajib for Allah, meaning what is Rashi necessary for Allah, what is Rashi impossible for Allah, and what is rationally necessary for Allah. The author used the word mukallaf, legally responsible. What is mukallaf? You heard the word mukallaf?
Someone who's accountable.
Someone is accountable. What are the characteristics of mukallaf, or what are the conditions of mukallaf? The authors mentioned two here. What does he say in the parenthesis? That is every sane soul possessed of reason by having age of aql through the attainment of puberty. So two things. Aqil and baligh. Mukallaf, this is a very important discussion.
No.
This is an important discussion. And listen very carefully, don't misquote me afterwards. Because I've been misquoted on this one. So mukallaf is a person who is baligh, number one, they've reached the age of puberty, and number two, aql, they are aql, they are sane. Now this is one position of the scholars. We have two main schools as told you, Maturidi and Ash'ari. The explanation in the parenthesis is according to the Maturidi position. According to Maturidiyya, is a school among scholars, not Imam Abu Hanifa per se, but Imam Abu Hanifa was also of this opinion, and many other scholars. They say that if any person is baligh, meaning they've reached the age of puberty, and number two, they're aqil, they understand the concept of tawheed, they're sane and they understand the concept of tawheed, it is wajib to have iman. They have to bring iman, whether da'wah reaches them or doesn't reach them. Okay? According to Maturidi position. According to the Maturidi position, what is the position? What's the characteristics or what the condition of mukallaf? Baligh and aqil. They have to reach the age of puberty. So if a person is living inside a mountain, a remote area, away from the Muslims, he's never heard about Allah, he's never heard about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, nobody's gone to him, no tablighi jamaat's gone to him, nothing. But he is baligh or she is baligh, they've reached the age of puberty, and they through their aql they understand the concept of a creator. It is necessary for them to bring iman. On how much iman do they have to bring? Only on ilahiyat. Only on ilahiyat, meaning only on the concept of a creator. That's it. They don't have to bring iman on the salah and zakat. Why? Because da'wah has not. Everything else is based on da'wah. Nabawiyat, to do with the prophets, and akhirat, these are all based on da'wah. You can't understand this through your aql alone. You need da'wah. Yes? So they have to bring iman on a creator. Because they're mukallaf now. Because the two conditions apply. What are the two conditions? They're aqil and they have to bring iman only on Allah. That's it, nothing else. And if they don't, they will go to the fire of Jahannam. Why? Because they were mukallaf and they did not bring iman. Does everybody understand this?
You read my mind.
Yes?
I was thinking of that question as
Yeah.
you answered it.
Alhamdulillah. According to the Ash'ari, the likes of Imam Hassan Ash'ari, Imam Fakhruddin Razi, Abu Hamid Ghazali, Shafi, Dhahabi, Nawawi. Not Dhahabi, but Nawawi, yes. And majority of the scholars, They say there's 3 conditions for a person to be legally responsible, for him to bring Iman or her bring Iman. Number 1, same as Maturidi, Baligh, they have reached the age of puberty. Number 2, Aqil. They have to understand the concept of Tawheed. And number 3, Da'wah has to reach them. Da'wah has to reach them. So the hypothetical scenario, if a person is living in a mountain, away from Muslims, they've never heard about Allah and the Rasul, but they are baligh, they've reached the age of puberty, and they understand the concept of Tawheed, but Dawah has not reached them. They are not mukallaf, they are not legally responsible. Even if they understand Allah, but they don't bring Iman on Allah, they will not be punished in their life hereafter. Why? Because the third condition has not applied, which is Dawah has to reach them, only then are they mukallaf. If Dawah reaches them and then they reject, then they will be kafir. Does that make sense? So, the other condition is that the Shaira say, which is within the third condition, that Dawah has to reach them in the correct manner. بشكل صحيح ليس بشكل مشوه, not in a distorted version. So if there's a person living in the West, their only image about Islam is 9/11. Yes? If somebody is living in the West and their image about Islam is, and that's the only image they have of Islam, the correct version of Islam has not reached them, and they die upon this, are they mukallaf according to the second opinion? No. And there are many people like this in the West. They actually rejected Islam not because they've rejected Islam, they've rejected their perception of Islam. They have kufr. Kufr is, like the Quran mentioned, يَعْرِفُونَهُ كَمَا يَعْرِفُ أَبْنَاءَهُ, that they recognize the truth and they recognize the Prophet ﷺ like they recognize their own children. وَاسْتَيْقَنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُم, their souls had yaqeen that this was true. جَحَدُوا بِهَا كَفَرُوا بِهَا, the Quran mentions. Then there is kufr. Kufr is rejecting the truth. What's kufr? What's iman? Accepting the? Iman is accepting. It's tasdeeq, yes? Kufr is takdeeb. Takdeeb means to reject the truth. You can only reject the truth when the truth is presented to you as the truth. Do you understand? So what do we understand from this? Every non-Muslim is not kafir, but every kafir is not non-Muslim. Every non-Muslim is not kafir, but every kafir is. In mantiq terms, this is called umum khusus mutlaq. Non-Muslim means general. Non-Muslim is general. Kafir is specific, khas. So kafir is only a kafir when they reject the truth. And a person can be non-Muslim for many reasons. So what does that mean? You can't say all non-Muslims go to Jahannam. You have to be careful. Allah tabligh mein se sare ghair Muslim Jahannam mein jayenge. Is it incorrect? And even Maturidiyya we don't know. According to Shaira, this is a valid position, and I'm of the opinion, the Ashari opinion, alhamdulillah. It makes more sense. Look, Fir'aun, who gave da'wah to Fir'aun? And Harun al-Islam, the best of da'wah, Prophet da'wah. How many miracles did he see? 9. This ayat, bayinat. And what did he claim? Ana rabbukumul a'la, I'm your greatest Lord. After da'wah, after 9 miracles, Allah said, no, say no, kafir. He was written off. Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab, they were given da'wah by who? The best person to walk on the surface of the earth, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They had seen miracles with their own eyes. اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر, the splitting of the moon. فرقة فوق الجبل فرقة دونه, half of the moon on one side of the mountain, the other half on the other side of the mountain. After that, Allah said, أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ. They will not bring iman now. That's it now. Dawah is done enough, they've seen enough miracles. Evidence is more than overwhelming. So when those people who rejected the da'wah of the prophets and after rejecting the miracles were classified as kafir, how is it that a person in the West who doesn't know about Islam, never heard about the truth of Islam, is said, oh, he's kafir, without no da'wah? And I have several verses of the Quran which establish the Ashari position. وَلَقَدْ جَاءَتْ رُسُلٌ بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَلَقَدْ أَهْلَكْنَا الْقُرُونَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَمَّا ظَلَمُوا. We've destroyed the nation before you when they did dhulm. When? وَجَاءَتْهُمْ رُسُلٌ بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ فَمَا كَانُوا لِيُؤْمِنُوا. When the Anbiya came with clear evidence and then they did not bring iman. That's when we destroyed them. وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. We do not punish any people until we send a prophet to them. Subhanallah. What's the verse? There are many verses like this in the Quran. We clearly established that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished people or said these people go to fire of Jahannam. It was after da'wah was given them and with the evidences. And which evidences? Definitive evidences of the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam. So inshallah on the day of judgment we hope for the Ashari position.
Does that mean, whoever is giving dawah, they got to be very, very good at it?
Yeah.
Or,
Giving dawah, you need to know what you're giving dawah about. That's why the Tablighi Jamaat is very strict to the Muslims and chain number. That's one of the reasons behind this.
Okay. So what about say for instance, when you get in a Christian guy who's blabbering on about his stuff and you don't know how to counter that, or it's wrong. Is it best to remain quiet and just
Yes.
let
Or take him
go?
to someone who can answer it.
Well, very few people are,
Yeah. No, there you inshallah find someone. Just take him to someone who can answer it. If you are not aware of the subject or you haven't got experience or you don't have knowledge in that area, don't. Because you might cause more harm than good.
Some of the verses you just mentioned, do you know the surah and the verse numbers? Do you know these?
Yeah, I'll give it to you inshallah afterwards. Remind me, I'll give you the Quran. I have in my mind, but I don't know which verse exactly. One was 15 juz, Surah Bani Israel, the third side. The other one's in 11 juz. It said 2-3 verses. Actually, I was reading the Quran now, and I was with my intention was to gather all these verses. I mentioned this to one sister. She's a Spanish reader about this. She said, "Look, my parents, they've died upon kufr, and I don't know, they will go to Jahannam." So I said to him, "Did anybody give them dawah like this?" Not really. I said, "Inshallah, don't worry." She goes, I said, "Why did they reject Islam?" Because she said they believed that Islam was terrorism. They actually believed this. I said, "Shut the ma'adhur, inshallah." She started crying. She goes, "Nobody told me this in my life, that this is possible." I said, "No, inshallah, yes, don't worry."
What about the people who are actually killing Muslims at the moment all around the world, who are thinking these are terrorists? Like for instance, in India, how do you deal with stuff like that? What would you say? We curse them, obviously. We say, may Allah destroy these people and all this. Are we allowed to make dua like that against these people who don't actually, who haven't been given the dawah the correct way?
The scholars say don't specifically give, but there is case where Prophet did give bad dua, but giving specifically is not recommended. What you can do is the zalim, the oppressors, by just mentioning generalizing it like this. Yes, first and foremost we make dua for the guidance. It's Allahu alam, what is happening, the reality behind everything. Make dua for the protection of the madhloom. You're using generic words like madhloom and zalim. There are cases and scenarios where the Prophet ﷺ did la'nat on specific people. But this is not the general practice of the Prophet. The Prophet ﷺ was not a la'an. He never used to give la'nat on everybody. And just, yes.
You know, you mentioned that giving the correct dawah. Let's say the correct dawah is available, but they don't go to the correct dawah. Do you understand? Like, for example, the message is there, but they're not taking it upon themselves to learn about that.
Yeah, so it's a very good question. I usually ask this question. The correct dawah is there, but they have, the non-Muslim hasn't endeavored to go for the correct dawah. So the question here is now, are they mukallaf? Are they mukallaf of going and searching for the truth when there's like 50 different versions according to them? Yes, this is truth, innit? According to us, there's only one truth. Because we were born in the family of Muslims. But in a non-Muslim, from a non-Muslim perspective, can you make them mukallaf or obliged to go search for the truth? Is it practical? How long will it take? How many years will it take? Which religion do they start off with? How much research do they do to know is the truth? Recently there was an Irish woman, Allah guided her, but she said, what did she say? A singer, I forgot her name. She had Islam at the bottom of the list. She had Islam bottom of the list because of the perception regarding Islam. Allah guided her, alhamdulillah. But she, normally speaking, she had Islam at the bottom of the list because of the propaganda about Islam. So if many people to go do research the true religion, they're not going to start off with Islam. And by the time they get to Islam, they'll probably die. So what's more easier for a person, a non-Muslim, to search for the truth where there's 50 different versions, or for a Muslim to deliver the truth which is only one version? That's why this ummah has been responsible for dawah. وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ لِلْخَيْرِ. That's one of the obligations of the ummah, to give dawah. It's our job to give them the truth, not their job to search for the truth. Yes, it's their job to accept the truth once they know it's the truth. Yes. Reason? Now we're going to discuss the 20 attributes which are rationally necessary for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 20 attributes which are rationally necessary for Allah, and they come into 4 categories. These 20 attributes come into four categories. So when we say these 20 attributes are rationally necessary for Allah, what does that mean?
They're wajib.
Wajib, meaning the mind cannot perceive a God without any of these attributes. Some of you might be thinking we've heard 99 attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Malik, Al-Quddus, Al-Salam. And today Maulvi Sahib saying 20, what is going on here? Which Aqidah is he teaching us? And this is one of the accusations of the Ash'ari from the Salafiyya sect, that the Ash'aris, they reject the attributes and they deny the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's based on a misconception. Down here, these 20 attributes which we say are rationally necessary for Allah, the other attributes, 99 plus in ahadith, they come under these 20. These are the 20 main ones. That's why Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi alayhi has a book called Al-Maqsid Al-Asna fi Sharhi Asma'illahi Al-Husna. Recently the Darul Minhaj print has been printed, mashallah. And in there he's got a full section, I think chapter 2, where he establishes that every single attribute or quality of Allah that's mentioned in the Quran and Hadith, they come under these 20. They come under these 20. Yes? Okay. So when we say these 20 attributes are necessary for Allah, what are we saying? These 20 attributes which can logically be understood, and your logic and reason says that a God has to have these attributes. Otherwise, there will be this impossibility. Yes? And these 20 attributes are the core attributes that are mentioned in the Quran and Hadith. And the other attributes that come under the umbrella, or shall I say, these 20 attributes, they include and encompass the rest.
Yes.
So we are not denying the 99 plus. We believe in all of them, every single one. But speaking theologically, we just categorize so it makes us to understand our aqidah. Remember, this is a science. The science was developed later. It's like tajweed. You don't find ghunna, ikhfa, idhar inside the time of the Prophet ﷺ. They just naturally knew this. They did this. It was afterwards for the ruling. Do you find faraz, wajib and sunnah in the time of the Sahaba? That in the salah we have this many fara'id, this many wajibat, this many sunnah. No, there's no such categorization in the time of the Sahaba. Everything was for them. Was just do it. The Prophet ﷺ did it, we do it. This was later on categorized for the based on Quran and Sunnah for the benefit and the easiness of the ummah. So in the same way, Iman has been developed in a science like this. Okay. So number one, I told you these 20 attributes are categorized into 4 categories. We're doing the first category, and the first category is only one quality.
Okay.
So out of the 20 attributes, we have 4 categories, and the first category only includes of one quality of Allah. طيب? فيجب في حقه تعالى. Is everybody with me? Ya Allah. Yes? So what page are we on now? 65, yes? فيجب في حقه تعالى الوجود وضده العدم والدليل على ذلك وجود المخلوقات. Existence is necessary for him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. The proof for that is that the existence of creation. And what's the opposite of existence? Opposite is non-existence. And this is which is rationally impossible for Allah. Non-existence is rationally impossible for Allah. So this is the first quality, and this is the first category. I told you there's 20 qualities, and out of the 20 qualities we have 4 categories, and the first category only has one
quality.
And this is called the sifa nafsiyya. As you can see at the top of the page, sifa, the self-signifying attribute. What is it known as? The self-signifying attribute, or the self-existing attribute. These are different names. Allah's existence is necessary. What's the difference between our existence and Allah's existence?
As is necessary.
As is necessary. We could have existed, we could have not existed. And Allah's existence is necessary. It has to exist. You cannot imagine its non-existence. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this in the Quran. Allahu Akbar. That's what the ulama, wajibul wujud. Have you heard of this? Allah wajibul wujud, right? Allah's wajibul wujud, meaning Allah's wujud, Allah's existence is wajib, necessary. And I told you yesterday, hukm aqli, rationally speaking, not the bitter wajib. There's nothing wajib for Allah in that sense. You know, we have a lot of things that's wajib upon us, yes. Witr is wajib, many other things are wajib. That wajib does not apply to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Legal rulings do not apply to Allah. Allah is the maker of legal rulings. So where did everything come from? Allah. There's only, I spoke to an atheist about this, and subhanAllah, this Quran verse is so powerful. It is so powerful, honestly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the 4 scenarios where everything came from. And then you realize why Allah's necessary existence. أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ. Number 3, أَمْ خَلَقُوا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And the conclusion is بَلْ لَا يُوقِنُونَ, but that's the 4th scenario. In inference. So what the 4 scenarios mentioned is the bayan I came here to on atheism. Number 1, everything came from nothing. Everything came from? Now the question is, where did everything come from? So Allah is saying, number 1, that the people, you can say this ayat can refer to the atheist. Do they believe that everything came from nothing? Number 1. أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ. This is the first scenario. Number two, أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ. Everything is a creator of itself. Everything is a creator of itself. Yes? Number three, أَمْ خَلَقُوا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Everything is created by a created being.
Great being.
Okay. Yeah, the literal translation is that did they, meaning the people create the heavens and the earth.
Okay.
Did they, meaning the people create the heavens and the
Okay.
earth. So I'm just paraphrasing so you understand the scenario. Did everything come from a created being?
Great being.
Which is the old cliche of the atheist. Who created God then? I've heard that question by atheists. Who then created God? So this question or this cliche is discussed under this third scenario. Scenario number 4, which is the only possible scenario, everything came from a uncreated being. Wajib al-wujud. Philosophically speaking, we can only entertain these 4 scenarios. Philosophically and logically speaking, we can only entertain 4 scenarios. So this atheist I was speaking to, he said, you always talking about these 4 scenarios. I said, yeah, because give me a 5th scenario. Give me a 5th scenario and then I'll accept. Either everything came from nothing, or everything is a creator of itself, number 2, or number 3, everything came from a created being, or last but not least, everything came from a uncreated being. So let's introspect, analyze these 4 scenarios. Why 3 of them are rationally impossible and 1 is only rationally possible? Everything came from nothing. Everything came from nothing. Why is this rationally impossible? Now, brother, why is it rationally impossible?
From nothing, you get nothing.
From nothing you get nothing. Nothing by definition cannot give you anything, never mind everything. Nothing by definition cannot give you anything, never mind everything. If I do have £10 in my pocket, can I give you £10 from my pocket? Or shall we say, another example, you're sleeping, you're inside a room, locked. Nothing can go in, nothing can go out. You decided to sleep and die in that room. After half an hour, however, you woke up and you saw a nice desk in the middle of the room with an Apple Mac laptop. And you opened this laptop and it said, "Dear reader, I came from nothing." Can that happen? Why? It's only one laptop. It can't come from nothing. How can the 7 heaven, the 7 earth come from nothing? Allah. And you know how, even though it sounds so absurd, people like Richard Dawkins have accepted this.
Yeah.
You know, God delusion. You read that, and Professor, don't read it. I'm not encouraging you to read those works. These works are kufr. When I was reading, I was A'udhu Billah, and it's just a load of jargon, hard words, and there's nothing to it. Wallahi, there's nothing. It's kufr. Nothing. It doesn't make sense. Professor Krauss, he argued that everything came from nothing. But if you look at their works, that nothing is actually something. So what they'll do is, instead of accepting the logical position, the rational position, the position that's based on fitrah, they will do that. They'll accept an impossibility instead. So they say, there's a YouTube video where Richard Dawkins was asked by someone, "Do you believe everything came from nothing?" He said yes. And everybody started laughing. And because he's an educated doctor, he's a biologist, at Oxford University, etc., he got embarrassed. He's not used to people laughing at him. Everything came from nothing. Imam Razi Rahmatullah Ali says, a person who says everything came from nothing, uska ilaj, I'm not, I get hypothetical scenario, give him a nice good slap and say it came from nothing. There was no cause to my slap. It just came from nothing. We'll see if he accepts. Imagine if we take this philosophy. Criminal justice will be all over the place. A person gets convicted for na'udhu billah murder. Murder didn't happen, it came from nothing. Scientifically, it is proven that things can come from nothing. Just imagine if somebody put this case inside the court. Allahu Akbar. Somebody beat somebody up, went to court. I didn't beat him up, it came from nothing. The beating came from nothing. We have scientists who say everything came from nothing, so why come out something, one little thing, my beating come from nothing? Subhanallah. Imam Razi Rahmatullah says that something coming from something, from a cause, meaning effect coming from a cause, this is basic knowledge. Everybody knows this. Even a child knows this. If you give a slap to a child, which don't do, but if you do, hypothetically speaking, and then you tell the child this slap came from nothing, the child will never believe you. Then Imam Razi says that even a donkey accepts this. When a donkey hears the voice of a stick, or when the donkey hears the voice of a whip, they know that this noise is coming from something. Thus they start moving quick, they start hastening in their speed. Even the donkey knows that this noise is coming from something. Is that coming from? Nothing. So a person who believes everything came from nothing, intellectually they're suffering more than this respectable donkey. Yes. Allahu Akbar. That's why the Quran says, أُولَٰئِكَ كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ. Worse than animals at times. So this is the first scenario. What's the second scenario? Everything. Remember, the three scenarios will lead to impossibilities. In philosophy, it's called reductio ad absurdum. Second scenario is everything is a creator of itself. Everything is a creator of itself. Why is this impossible? Why is this scenario absurd or preposterous? Why? Why cannot something create itself?
Chicken and the egg scenario.
Chicken and the egg scenario.
You can't create yourself, you don't exist.
Exactly. What does it lead? It leads to a contradiction. Tanaqud. This cup created itself. So that means, what are you doing? You are combining existence and non-existence at the same time. Wujud and Adam.
Yeah.
You cannot say this cup exists and it doesn't exist at the same time. If this cup created itself, that means before creating itself, it existed to create itself. But why is it creating itself if it already exists? And it cannot create itself without existing.
Yeah.
But then why is it creating itself if it exists? You see? It's like saying, can a woman give birth to herself? See, mind, your cognitive process is like, it just freezes. So this is second scenario. Okay, scenario number 3. أم خلقوا السماوات والأرض. Everything came from a created being. The old cliche of a atheist. Who created God then? What's wrong with this scenario? Let's begin. What's wrong with this scenario? Yes, Bita?
Well, if the person created you, then who created him? Then who created him?
Yes. And that's the question.
So, the person who created you, and if he's created, then who created him?
Yes, exactly. Good. Well done. That's the problem. The problem is when a person asks who created God, what they imagine God to be a created being. Every God. That's a fundamental question with this problem with this question. Who created God means, in other words, God is created. So that means every God is created. So God number one who created the world, obviously is created because it's God according is created according to this atheist. Then who created God number one, God number 2? God number 2 is also created. So who created God number 2? God number 3. So this will lead to infinite regress of causes, which is impossibility in philosophy, which means there will be no creation. To believe God is created is denying creation. To believe God is created is denying. How? Let me give you an example. I've got a sniper. No sniper, Sonny. I've got a water gun. Right? I've got a nice water gun. with clean water inside this water gun, and I'm pointing this water gun at your waterproof jacket with your consent. These clauses are very important in this day and age. Yes? And who knows, after a few weeks, maybe on Sky, radical imam talking about sniper in the mosques, keeping snipers, and implementing Sharia law. Sharia law, have you heard this? Sharia law? Tommy Robinson, Sharia law. I always want to order a copy of Sharia book from them. They've probably seen it in some market I haven't. Book of Sharia law. You get one book and you tell you the entire Sharia. One unified version of Sharia law. It's so nice to have this to my library. I haven't seen one till today. I've checked in a lot of the markets and books in different countries. I haven't got this. Tommy Robinson probably have one on his pillow. The book of Sharia law. So absurd. Allah, Shariat is so disputed. The fiqh, there's so many different volumes and madhahib, and the ulama cannot agree. It's impossible. They've never agreed on one specific ruling, a legal ruling. So much ikhtilaf, yes, fiqh rulings. But there, mashallah, they have one Sharia law, which they have seen somewhere on internet, mashallah. So I've got this water gun, and I'm pointing this water gun at your waterproof jacket with your consent. However, I'm waiting for somebody else's order. They're waiting for somebody else's order. And then they're waiting for somebody else's. Will I ever initiate that water gun? Why not? Waiting for order. In the same way, God created. There's never stopping. There's no stop, is there? So there will be no creation. Like there will be no initiation of this water onto your waterproof jacket, in the same way there will be no initiation of the creation. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says very profoundly in the Quran, وَهُوَ يَبْدَأُ الْخَلْقَ ثُمَّ يُعِيدُهُ. It is Allah who initiated the creation. And He will then resurrect the creation. Yabda is from Bidayah, Bada'a Yabda. He initiated. He was the first being and the only being who initiated the creation. So the only possible scenario is what, my dear friends? Everything created by uncreated. There are some scientists who say that everything that they're slowly willing to accept now, because they know that every other possibility or scenario, rather, not possibility, is impossible. So they're saying everything came from a very natural force which we don't know yet. We'll find this. Some scientists they believe this now, that everything came from a natural force which we cannot explain yet. But they won't say Allah. They'll call it other things, but they will call it Allahu Akbar. طيب. Next sifa. So that's the sifa nafsiyya, the first attribute, the first category. Now we're moving on to the second category. I told you these 20 sifat, how many categories do they come into? 4. The first category only has one, wujud. Now we have the next category. The next category has 5 qualities. The next category has how many qualities? 5 attributes. How many? 5. So you don't want, yes? Wujud, Allah's existence. Now we're talking about 5. This is more easier now, yeah? We're just talking about Allah's attributes. These 5 qualities are called sifat salbiyya, the negating attributes. What are they called? The negating attributes. Why are they called negating attributes? Because they negate, they're not establishing anything, they're negating for Allah. When we study these 5, you will realize why. Why they call negating. Sifat salbiyya, the negating attributes. So number 1, from the 5 of the negating attributes. Beginninglessness. Qidam. Beginninglessness. Or is also called as pre-eternal. Allah being pre-eternal. Pre-eternality. beginninglessness. That Allah has no beginning. It's called qidam. What is it called? Qidam in Arabic. Beginninglessness is necessary for him subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does it mean? It means that he has no beginning.
Trying to hear next.
Oh, can't they hear me? Has the volume gone low? Where is it? Check. Okay. Beginninglessness is necessary for him subhanahu wa ta'ala. It means that he has no beginning. The proof for that is, were he to be originated, he would have needed an originator, which is impossible. He mentioned very briefly here, but why is it impossible? Because then it will lead to infinite regress of causes, and that's impossible, which we just spoke about. The Quran mentions huwa al-awwal wal-akhir wal-zahiru wal-batin. He is the first, he is the last. Meaning there's nothing before him, there's nothing after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What's the opposite of beginninglessness? Its opposite is origination, which is the characteristic of every contingent thing. Contingent meaning created thing. Contingent is something that did not exist, then it existed. Or quality which comes into existence after having not existed. Okay, so this is one of the qualities. Allah has no beginning. Huwa al-awwal. Like in the Quran, He has no beginning. And if He had a beginning, then it would lead to a impossibility, which is infinite regress of causes. That's why Allah is beyond time. Time has a beginning. Allah is beyond space and place. Place and space have a beginning. They're created. Everything apart from Allah is created. The hadith of Bukhari mentions, كَانَ اللَّهُ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْءٌ غَيْرَهُ. Allah existed and nothing apart from Allah existed. Yes? طيب. So why is this? I told you these 5 qualities are known as, the second category is called sifat salbiya, because they're negating. So what's the first negating? Beginning. Qidam is negating a beginning. Yes? Number 2, page 67. With me? Yes? Endlessness. This is negating ending. Allah does not have an end. Endlessness is indeed necessary for him subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means that nothing comes after him, exalted is he. The proof for endlessness is were he to be transient. Transient means subjected to ending. He would have been contingent, which is impossible. Its opposite is transience. Because in theology, the scholars explain, once we prove Allah does not have a beginning, automatically it's proven that He doesn't have an ending. Why? Because Allah is free from non-existence. He's free from being created. And what ends? Something that is created. Yes? Quran mentions, كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ. Everything will perish, only the being of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remain. So this is the second quality from the negating attributes, which means, what is the negating here? Ending. But these two are very intrinsically connected. If it has no beginning, because when we've proven that Allah has no beginning, that means He's free from non-existence. He is free from none. And if He's free from non-existence, this automatically establishes that He's free from ending, because ending is also non-existence, isn't it? Ending is also a type of non-existence. So that's how it's connected. Scholars give endless evidences for this. We don't have time to go into all of the. Remember, this is just basic, just knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala attributes, the main attributes and their logical reasons. Number 3. Dissimilarity to originated beings, al-mukhalifa lil-hawadith. This is the third attribute from the negating attributes. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is completely dissimilar to the creation. So where is this negating similarity? There is no similarity between the creator and the creation. The Quran is very clear. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There is nothing like Allah. Nothing. Allahu Samad. What does Samad mean? كُلُّ شَيْءٍ يَحْتَاجِ إِلَيْهِ وَلَا يَحْتَاجِ إِلَى شَيْءٍ. Everything is in need of Allah. Allah is not in need of anything. So this similarity to originated beings is necessary for him. This is also necessary for him. Meaning rationally speaking. Why? It means that he is not like originated things. Thus he has no hand, no eye, no ear, no anything else from the attributes of originated things. The proof for that, next page, the proof for that is, were he to be resemble or were he to resemble originated things, he would have been originated, which is impossible. It's opposite, meaning the opposite of this quality is resemblance. So Allah is complete, the Quran is clear. Allah is nothing like the creation. Nothing like the creation. So he has no ear, no hand. So you know some of the Salafis, a lot of the Salafis today, and a lot of the anthropomorphists, they say Allah's got a literal hand. Allah's got a literal eye, na'udhu billah. This is because they don't understand the Arabic language, unfortunately. That's the main reason they don't understand the Arabic language properly. The main reason they fall into anthropomorphism because they take the verses literally, the literal meanings. And you don't take the Quran literally all the time. Allah says, فَالْيَوْمَ نَنْسَاهُمْ كَمَا نَسُوا لِقَاءَ يَوْمِهِمْ هَذَا. We will forget them like they had forgotten this day. Does forgetting literally mean forgetting there? Na'udhu billah, can you say Allah forgets, astaghfirullah? I've got like a 7-hour video, 10-hour series on this. The true creed of the pious Salaf on YouTube. The true creed of the pious Salaf, where I've discussed this topic in much detail. How we understand those verses of the Quran or the Hadith, which apparently give an impression that Allah has body, limbs. What meaning do we take from them? How have the Salaf and the Sahaba understood them? And I've given quotes of over approximately 150 scholars, starting from Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah all the way down to Allama al-Mirshah Kashmiri rahmatullahi alayh. That what we do in those verses. I'm not going to go into that topic because
What's the syllabus called?
the true creed of the pious Salaf. It's very intense, so you'll have to watch like half an hour a day or something and absorb the information and then carry on. I did it in one day. Everybody that was in front of me, they were all sleeping, mashallah. Because the Quran is, look, we take the conclusive verses of the Quran. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There's nothing like Allah. So if Allah has a physical hand, na'udhu billah, then what does that mean? He's same as a creation in having a physical hand. I was talking to one Salafi brother. He said, well, the hand is not the same. When we say my hand and the hand of a clock, is that the same? I said, first, the hand of a clock is metaphorically speaking. But let's take, okay, yeah, it is the same. What resemblance is my hand and the hand of the clock? Body, corporeal figure, jism. My hand is a jism and the hand of a clock is also a corporeal entity. So there's a resemblance in jism, isn't there? There's no resemblance even in this with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ. And why do we use a hand? Why do we have a hand? To aid us, to help us. We are in need of a hand. Is a sign of a need. And what does Allah say? Allahu Samad. Allah is not in need of anything. This is a very Christian doctrine to say Allah has got a hand or He's physically sitting on the throne. Astaghfirullah. May Allah save us from such things. So that's why we look at the conclusive verses of the Quran. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. Allahu Samad. Allahu al-Ghani. All these verses. This is a very deep topic. It's quite intricate too. So the true creed of the pious Salaf is a series where I've discussed this. The third quality. Let's finish this Sifat Salbiya inshallah. The negating attributes. Page 70. The third quality from which quality? Is the fourth, but is the third from the negating attribute. I told you, these 20 attributes are categorized into 4 categories. Number 1 was only one quality, the existence. Now we're doing category number 2. Category number 2 has how many qualities? 5, the negating attributes. So we've done number 1. Oh, yes, 4th, yeah, you're right. We've done what? Akidam, we've negated beginning, we've negated end, we've negated similarity, and now number 4. Okay? Yes, number 4. What are we negating in here? Self-subsistence. What are we negating here? External need. Self-subsistence here means completely independent. The other meaning, or the other word the ulama use for self-subsistence is al-ghina al-mutlaq. Complete independency. Allah is not in need of anything external. Yes?
What was that? Al-ghina al-mutlaq.
Mutlaq. Al-ghina al-mutlaq. Yes. Imam Marighni and Imam Sharnubi and other Imam have used this terminology in their books. Al-ghina al-mutlaq. Meaning Allah does not need anything. So what is this negating? This negating dependency. What is this negating? Yes? So self-subsistence, let's read this and I'll explain this attribute very briefly. This refreshes your imanullah. Self-subsistence is necessary for him. What does that mean? It means he subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need a locus, meaning a place, location, to exist, or determinant, a specifier, something external that put him there. Look, I put this cup inside on this table. What does that mean? There's externals who put him there. That means it's created. Na'udhu billah, if there's anything external that put Allah into position, na'udhu billah, that means Allah is created. Yes? And the proof for that is that were he to require a locus to subsist, he would have been an attribute. And his being an attribute is impossible. And were he to require a determinant, meaning an external specifier, he would have been originated. And his being originated is impossible, as we've discussed. Its opposite is requiring a locus to exist or determinant. If there's anything external force that gives existence to Allah, na'udhu billah, that means Allah is originated, and that's impossible. We've already mentioned that Allah's existence is necessary. He doesn't have a beginning. Yes? That's what the Ash'ari say. You may have heard this. And some of the Salafis mock this. La kharij al-alam wa la dakhil al-alam. Allah is not in the universe, nor outside the universe. So where is he then? Why did the Ash'ari use this term that Allah is not in the universe and not outside the universe? Why do they use this? They use this term to negate a place for Allah. If I say I'm inside this room, what does that mean? And I've got a jism.
Yeah.
If I'm outside the room, I'm still a jism compared to the room.
Yeah.
So only a jism can be inside something or outside something. Allah is free from jism. He's free from place. That's what they say this.
Yeah.
That's why there's only one true independent being. Who is that? Allah. A human can never be independent. I want independent. We want independent. Everybody wants. Men will be independency. Women will want independency. Women will become independent. Nobody is independent, my dear friends. If a person has a business and they're independent, are they independent? They need workers. They need money. They need customers. If a person doesn't need anything, they still need oxygen. They need place. They need space. Every breath we take, every step we take, we need thousands of things. There's only one Allah that doesn't need anything. That's what the Quran says very boldly. Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, all of you, antumul fuqara ila Allah. You are all in need of Allah. There's only one being. Wallahul ghani. It's only Allah that's completely independent. And there's propaganda going that women should be independent now. Women should be independent. Have their own job, have their own house, have their own car. That's why there's so many marital issues. Men need women, women need men. We need each other. We are all in need. There's nobody independent. And this notion of independency is leading to what? Pride, an egocentric society, and leading to lack of gratitude.
Subhanallah.
This sense of independency leads to pride, and then this pride leads to lack of gratitude. Whereas the acknowledgement that we are in need, and the realization that we are in need, and the realization that we are depending all the time on Allah, what does this lead to? This leads to humility. Allah, I'm nothing. Oh man, I'm always in need. And what does humility then lead to? Gratitude. Allahu Akbar. When a person thinks I'm nothing, he always is thankful. Tayyib? Alhamdulillah. The last quality, quickly, we have 6-7 minutes before the break. The last quality from which qualities? Sifat Salbiya. The self-signifying, the negating attributes. So what did this quality number 4 negate? Qiyam bin nafs.
Rights, anything else?
Yes, dependency. You know, afterwards, inshallah, you know, in the footnotes, annotations, the author is given Quranic verses where they're derived from. Okay, so these sifat are from the Quran, they're not just based on rationale too. Okay, so he gives them various Quranic verses, but we don't have time to go through everything. That's why I'm not entertaining the annotations. Number 5, last but not least, Tawheed. It's interesting, isn't it? Interesting. Tawheed. You know, Tawheed is a negating attribute. Many people don't know this. Tawheed, we are negating. What does the kalima start with? La, innit? It starts with negation. We're not establishing anything for Allah in Tawheed. Sounds strange, isn't it? We are negating. We are negating parts and partners. You know, when I say one, brother is one sitting here, number 1. This brother is number 2. This brother is number 3, for example. So why is he 1? Because 2. Is this the one we're talking about Allah? No. 1 yani, he has no parts and no partners. He has no parts and no partners. We are negating parts for Allah. He's not composed of parts. Physical hand, physical eye. And nor does he have partners. Sharik. Now Tawheed Tawheed in 3 parts. In the Dhat of Allah, not the Rububiyyah and Uluhiyyah of this Hukmiyyah, Hakimiyyah, the Salafi version of Tawheed. No. Tawheed down here, when we say Tawheed from the Quran and Sunnah, we understand Tawheed in 3 areas. Number 1, in the Dhat of Allah, in the essence of Allah. Tawheed in the essence of Allah, in His existence. Number 2, Tawheed in the Sifat of Allah, in His attributes. Tawheed in the Sifat of Allah, in His attributes. And number 3, Tawheed in the af'al of Allah, in His actions. Tawheed in the af'al of Allah, in His actions. So look, let's just apply the negation of parts and partners in all 3. Just listen. It isn't that we will read it after I explain. When we say Allah's Tawheed in Dhat, we are negating that Allah's Dhat is composed of parts, and we are also negating that He has any partner, any Dhat like Him. Yes? Yeah. That's Tawheed in Dhat. It's in the book. When we say Tawheed in Sifat, in Allah's attributes, what are we negating? Parts and partners. What are we negating? How are we negating the parts? We are saying, for example, Allah's Qudra. Allah's omnipotence. There's not 2 types of Qudra. There's only one Qudra. There's not 2 parts of Qudra. But there's not 2 parts of Allah's knowledge. It's one. That's how we are negating parts in terms of attributes. And we are also negating partners in attributes. That there is nobody who has same attributes as Allah. So Tawheed in the Dhat of Allah. So this is Tawheed in Allah. But Tawheed of the Dhat, Tawheed of the Sifat, and then we have the Tawheed of the Af'al. Tawheed of Af'al means that there is nobody apart from Allah who creates any actions. All the actions that happen, who creates the cause? Allah. So the fire, the burning, who makes that? Who gives cure? All of the actions that take place in the world, who is the creator? Who is the one that causes the cause effect? Allah. Okay? So now do you stand the Tawheed in Dhat, Sifat and Af'al?
Yeah.
So these are all negating. We are negating, aren't we? In all three, we are negating. Oneness, al-Wahdani, is necessary for him in entity, in attributes and his acts, af'al. The meaning of oneness in entity is that he is not composed of parts. The meaning of oneness in attributes is that he does not have two or more attributes of one kind, such as two powers, and none other than he has any attributes resembling his attributes. The meaning of oneness in acts, meaning his action, is that none other than Allah has any act like his. The proof for that he is, if he were more than one, and if there was more than one Allah, none of these created things would have existed. Its opposite is multiplicity. Now this is a very short argument. The ulama give many reasons. It's in the Quran. Allah mentioned, لو كان فيهما آلهة إلا الله لفسدتا. If there was more than one God, there would be corruption in the heavens and the earth. And كل إذا لذهب كل إله بما خلق ولا على بعض ما لا بعض. And each God would have taken their creation and there would have been a chaos. What's happening in the House of Parliament? Two people, if there's two Amirs inside the house, there's problem. But subhanallah, 7 heavens and 7 earth, there's not been a day where there's been miscalculation. It's precision, timing. The sun, as a minute of time, the sun has come out a bit late today, the normal time. Subhanallah. This is called the argument of hindrance, Burhan Tamano, in Kalam. And subhanAllah, in my assignment I used this, my philosophy, and my tutor was amazed because they don't have it in the Christian theology. Because their doctrine about the God is very, body and anthropomorphized. There's many other evidences why Allah is only one. Rationally speaking, is only one. Because if there was more than one God, there would have been corruption. And that's what the Quran mentions very profoundly. If there was more than one God, then the heavens and the earth will be in chaos. But alhamdulillah, we don't see anything in chaos. What does that mean? There is no? There's only? There's other evidences too. Many other evidences the ulama give. But we will go too much into them. The Quranic verses are mentioned in the annotations, alhamdulillah. You can go over them afterwards yourself. So the 20 sifat that are necessary for Allah, and they are 4 categories. We've covered the first category and the second. The first category only has one quality, the self-existence, and the second category has 5, the negating attribute. Allah has no beginning, no end, no similarity, complete independent, no dependency, and no parts and partners. Tawheed. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. الحمد لله العلي الواحد العالم الفرد الغني الماجد وأفضل الصلاة والتسليم على النبي المصطفى الكريم وآله وصحبه الأطهار لا سيما رفيقه في الغار أما بعد. We were discussing the 20 attributes which were rationally necessary for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wajib, aqlan. And the definition of wajib aqlan, something that is rationally necessary, is that its non-existence cannot be perceived by the mind, meaning its existence is necessary. And then we mentioned that these 20 sifat are categorized into 4 groups. The first group only consisted of one quality, al-wujud, existence, the self-signifying attribute. The second group consisted of how many attributes? 5. And they were known as sifat salbiya, the negating attributes, because each and every single one of them, primary, they were negating something. So, beginning is Allah's qidam, Allah being pre-eternal, that negates beginning. Number 2, baqa, Allah everlasting, that negates ending. Number 3, Allah's mukhalifa lil hawadith, negates similarity, that Allah is completely similar to the creation. Number 4, Allah's self-subsistence, or in other words, Allah's complete independency, negates dependency and any sort of need. And last but not least, from the second group was Tawheed, Allah's divine unicity, where we negate parts and partners in 3 things: in Allah's entity, that, in His qualities, sifat, and His actions. Now we are moving on the third category from the 4 categories of attributes which are rationally necessary for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and these are known as sifat ma'ani, the qualitative attributes. Sifat ma'ani, the qualitative attributes. Now, there's a thing that I want to mention here. Everybody can pay attention to this point. Sifat ma'ani, there are 7. What are they? 7. The third category. And the 7 are Allah's power, number 1. We're going to discuss this inshallah. Allah's power, qudra, His will, number 2, irada. Number 3, Allah's knowledge, ilm. Number 4, Allah's quality of hayatun, life. Number 5, Allah's sama'. Allah's sama' meaning Allah's hearing. Number 6, Allah's basar. Basar means Allah's sight. And last but not least, Allah's speech, kalam. These 7 qualities which belong to the third category, they're known as sifat ma'ani, qualitative attributes. What are we doing in these 7 sifat? We are establishing, we are not negating. What are we doing? That's why the ulama also call these sifat thubutiyya. They're not salbiyya. They're not negating, we are establishing. Because in the sifat salbiyya, the second category, negating, we were negating that He has got no beginning, He has no end, He has no dependency. In these 7 sifat, we are not negating, we are primary. What are we doing? Establishing. We're establishing Allah has got qudra. We're establishing Allah has will. We're establishing Allah has got hearing. We're establishing Allah has knowledge. We are establishing Allah has speech. Yes? After understanding this, what you need to understand now is, why have the ulama mentioned these sifat in this order? Why did we study wujud first? In the first group, we only had 1 quality. Why did we study the self-existence quality first? And then we studied number 2, the negating attributes. And now we are studying the establishing or the qualitative attributes. Why in this order? What's the rationale behind this? Let me explain. It's very interesting. The reason we studied sifat nafsiyya, the wujud, the existing attribute first, because without the existence of anything, you cannot imagine the attributes. Without Zayd's existence, you cannot imagine the qualities of. So discussing Allah's wujud first is obvious, because without existence, you cannot imagine qualities. Qualities come with the existence. Yes? That's clear. Khalas. That's number 1. Number 2, now the question is, why did we study the negating attributes before these 7? Does everybody understand the question? Why did we study the 5 negating attributes, and now we are studying these 7 qualitative attributes? The reason is, because these 7 attributes, this third category, these attributes, the creation also somewhat share them in name only. In name, not in reality. Creation, humans also possess knowledge. They also possess some sort of qudra, irada, sight, hearing, speech. Isn't this the case? Don't we see the creation also possessing these qualities? Yes? So now, of course, we are talking about Allah. So in order not to fall into resemblance, and in order not to fall in anthropomorphism, what are we doing? We will be studying this third category or these 7 sifat through the lenses of those 5 negating attributes. Yes? Do you understand?
Yes.
So when we look at these 7 sifat, each sifat we look at it through the lenses of those 5. That's why we studied those 5 negating attributes first. So why is because a lot of people that study these attributes, or the first thing they study is Allah's got a hand. Before studying anything else, Allah's got a hand, Allah's physical above his throne. That's why they fall into tashbih and tajseem. So what we study first is the negating attributes. And now after every attribute we study, we're going to look at it through the lenses of these 5. So for example, Allah's knowledge. We have knowledge. Allah has knowledge. But is there any similarity? Nothing except the name. That's why the hadith of Prophet Musa alayhi salam and Khazir alayhi salam, when they were traveling, Bukhari, and then they saw that bird peck at the water and taking our drop. Khazir alayhi salam said to Musa, my and your knowledge compared to the knowledge of Allah is not even like this drop of the ocean. There's no comparison. So if we are studying knowledge, for example, we will study from the 5 lenses. So what are the 5 lenses? Allah's knowledge has no beginning. Allah's knowledge has no end. Allah's knowledge is completely dissimilar to the creation. Allah's knowledge is qa'im bi nafsi, is independent. He does not need external books or news or no. And Allah's knowledge is one. He doesn't have different types of knowledge. He has one knowledge of everything. Yes? We study qudra, Allah's omnipotence. We also have some sort of power to do things. But what's the difference? The difference is everything except for the name. Why? Because Allah's knowledge, Allah's power has no beginning. Allah's power has no end. Allah's power is completely similar. Allah's power is independent and is one. Tawheed. Do you understand? So these 7 qualities we look at through the lenses of these 5 negating attributes. If we do that, inshallah, we'll be saved from resemblance and similarity. Now, do you understand the rationale why would we in this order? So page 74. The first of the 7 attributes from the third category. How many categories altogether? These 20? 4, remember, yeah? 4. We've done 2, now in the third one. Power. Power is necessary for him subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a pre-eternal attribute subsisting through his entity, with which he brings things into existence and takes them out of existence. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power is what? It changes things into existence and then into non-existence, and even the changes that happen in between. The proof for that is that were he unable, meaning what's the opposite of qudra? Ajz. If Allah was unable, nothing of the creation would have existed. Its opposite is inability. Can an enable being create 7 heavens, 7 earth? No. But because we've established that there's a creator, and then we see there's a creation, then the creator has to be a qadir creation. It can't be an ajiz creation. Yes? Now there's one thing here that's very important. We need to understand. You know Allah's qudra, Allah's link, what is it connected with?
His will.
No. From the creation. It's very important. Try to understand. I told you there's 3 types of existence in it. Wajib, something that's rationally necessary, something that's rationally impossible, and something that's rationally possible. Allah's qudra is only linked with the third. Rationally possible. Allah's qudra is linked with only rationally possible. Allah's qudra is not linked with wajib. Why? Because wajib does not change. What's the objective of qudra? Is to bring changes, yes? From existence into non-existence, from non-existence to... But like we mentioned, wajib does not change. Wajib has to exist all the time, yes? So Allah's qudra is not linked with wajib by definition. Nor is Allah's qudra linked with the impossibilities. Allah's qudra is not linked with the. Why is it not linked with impossibilities? Because impossibilities by definition cannot exist. Impossibilities by definition. You know, as people say, oh, can God create a square triangle? Square triangle by definition cannot exist. So that question doesn't apply. Does that make sense? Or can God create such a big stone that he cannot lift? So what does that mean? Can God become incapable? If you do that, Allah being incapable is impossible, otherwise there will be no creation. So the question is absurd. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So Allah's qudra is only linked with jaiz or mumkin. That's why if you open the tafsir, when it says innahu ala kulli shay'in qadir, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has power over everything, he is omnipotent, say ala kulli shay'in mumkin. And tafsir will say meaning Allah has power over everything, power over all possibilities. Allah having power over everything, meaning power over all impossibilities. And Allah's qudra, listen very carefully. This is it might be a bit deep. Listen very carefully. Allah's qudra, Allah's power not being linked with the impossibility. Yeah. Allah's qudra not being linked with the is not a sign of incapability. Let me say again. Allah's qudra, Allah's power not being linked with the impossibility is not a sign of incapability. Why? Because incapability by definition is when the person is capable or that thing is capable in and of itself and then they're not able to do it. Become incapable or he's rendered incapable of doing this. Meaning that thing in and of itself is doable, but now because of some external reason he's become, yes, incapable. Something that cannot exist by definition, not doing that thing doesn't make you incapable. Oh, you can't draw a square triangle. But square triangle, do you see how this person become incapable from drawing a square triangle? You don't say this person become incapable of drawing a square triangle. Because square triangle by definition cannot exist. Incapability and ajiz hona, as they say in Urdu. To become incapable is only when that thing itself is possible and then a person is not able to do it. Fahimtum? Does everybody understand this?
Yes.
So when we say Allah's qudra, we have no shame to say that Allah's qudra is only linked with the mumkinat. Because mustahilat, impossibilities by definition do not exist and wajib by definition cannot change. And qudra changes. The sifa, the wazifa, the role of Allah's qudra, of this sifa, this particular sifa, the role of this sifa is to change. Is to bring effect and cause and change. Yes? Another example, this might not be, this example is just to make you understand. Zayd by definition, biologically speaking, I mean everything is possible nowadays, but Zayd cannot produce children. Does that mean he's become incapable? Ajiz ho gaya, he can't give babies. Meaning he can't carry a child. I mean, nowadays this is probably possible, they do all sorts of things, but normally speaking, no. Because that's not the wazifa. That's not the job, that's not the description or the definition of being a male, for example. But if a woman who is not, they say, or banj ho gaya, or incapable, or the Quranic word is ajuzun aqim, the Quran mentions. Yes? So the point is that incapability is only when that thing itself is possible, then they're not able to do it. So Allah's qudra not being linked with the impossibility is not a sign of incapability. Okay. So those people who ask these questions, they don't understand what the nature of qudra, and they don't understand what impossible things are, what possible things are. This is why they ask these questions. Can God create? Can God do this? Can God do this? Do you see where the question stems from? It stems from ignorance. See? So that's the first. And you'll see the order of these sifat, the third category. Qudra comes first. First, the person has the power to do something, and then he intends to do something. Yes? And then he also has knowledge of that thing. These are all connected in this way. So number 2, from which qualities from the sifat? Ma'ani, the third category, the qualitative attributes. Page 75, will. This is also the attribute of Allah. Will, al-irada, is necessary for Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a pre-eternal attribute. What does it mean by pre-eternal? Meaning these qualities they don't have a beginning. Remember I told you, we're going to understand these qualities from the 5 lenses of the negating attributes. These, salbiya, they don't have any beginning. They've always been there with Allah. Allah, that, like Allah's essence does have a beginning, His qualities also don't have a beginning. Will is necessary for Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a pre-eternal attribute subsisting through His entity, subhanahu wa ta'ala, with which He determines possible existence or non-existence, independence or dependence, knowledge or ignorance, etc. The proof for that is, were He compelled, He would have been unable. And His being unable is impossible. Its opposite is compulsion. So what's the difference between qudra and irada? Qudra is the actual change, the actual effectiveness. When Allah brings the effect, when Allah changes something from existence into non-existence, etc. And what's will? Will is making that intention, the will of making it like this. So, yes? And the reason Allah's will is necessary because what's the opposite of will? Compulsion. Yes? And somebody who's forced and the things that are happening, what Allah does, everything that's happening, sometimes we don't understand the reason, sometimes we understand the reason. This is not a sign of compulsion. It's a sign of free will. Yes? Number 76. Knowledge. The third quality. Knowledge, al-ilm, is necessary for Him. It is a pre-eternal attribute subsisting through His entity with which He knows all things. The proof for that is, were He ignorant, He would not have been willing, which is impossible. Its opposite is ignorance. Can you make intention without knowledge? Can you say, oh, yes, I've got pakka intention of what? I don't know. Yes? So when Allah has qudra and He has irada and He's made everything, of course, with knowledge. With knowledge, and He has knowledge of the creation. He had knowledge of the creation before creating the creation, and after creating the creation, He still has knowledge of everything. Yes?
Yes.
The other thing about al-ilm, which is interesting, Allah's knowledge and qudra are 2 different sifat. Which brings change? Qudra. Ilm does not bring change. Knowledge does not bring. Knowing something is not changing it. People say, if Allah knows everything, then why should I do this? Taqdeer. Have you heard this question? That if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything that I'm going to do, then what's the point? Why do this? Allah knowing everything, that's His knowledge, that's His pre-eternal knowledge. What's the opposite of that? Jahl. If Allah doesn't know what you're going to do, then that means He's jahil, and that's impossible. So the only possible scenario is that Allah knows everything. As for the notion that why do your actions, well, that depends on your free will. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything that will happen, it doesn't mean He's making it happen. Because Allah's ilm is not like, it doesn't bring change. Let me give you an example. This example is not a resemblance in any way with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's taqdeer. But if you record a video on YouTube, before you upload the video on YouTube, you know exactly what will happen in the video because you've recorded the video, you have knowledge, you are fully aware of the video. But does that mean you are forcing those actions to take place in the video? No. You've recorded a video, now you are showing that video to your children. You exactly know what's going to happen. For your children, it's the first time seeing. Yes?
Yeah.
But are you making those actions happen? Or are they happening with their own will? You're choosing them. But you know exactly what will happen. So Allah knows exactly what people will do. That's His knowledge. That doesn't mean He's forcing us. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So if Allah has written a person will not pray salah, is written he will not pray salah by his own will. Allah knows this. He will choose. So the will, ikhtiyar is there. People have free will. And Allah knows exactly what will happen. Does that make sense? A lot of people don't understand the nature of ilms. They say, if Allah knows, then what? Yes, Allah knows, that's His knowledge. But that doesn't mean you don't have free will. You don't have a choice. You're not forced.
Mm.
Yes? That's why in the definition, because the author is giving definition. Because in Qudra, what did he say? With which he brings things into existence and take them out of existence. Meaning brings change, Qudra. Ilm is not like this. Ilm is what? He knows all things. He knows will happen. But he doesn't bring the change because of ilm. Does that make sense? Tayyib. Next quality. Quality number? Attribute number 1, 2, 3, 4. From the sifat ma'ani, the quality of attributes. Life, al-haya, is necessary for him subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a pre-eternal attribute subsisting through his entity, which validates his being attributed with knowledge and the other attributes. Because without life, can you imagine any other attribute without life? So this is necessary because if Allah has other attributes, then He definitely has got life. Because only a being with life can be attributed with knowledge, etc. The proof for that is, were he dead, he would not have been able, willing, or knowledgeable, which is impossible. Its opposite, meaning the opposite of life, is death. Next quality, number 6 and 7. The authors mention 6 and 7 together. Hearing and sight.
5 and 6.
Sorry?
5 and 6.
Number 4, minister.
Sorry.
Number 4 is like
Number 4 is life. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 and 6. Yes. We're doing 5 and 6 now. Yes. And then kalam is the last one. 5 and 6. Hearing and sight are necessary for him subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are two pre-eternal attributes subsisting through his entity, through which existence is disclosed. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the existence, those things that are existing through these two qualities. The proof for that is his statement, and he is all hearing and all seeing. The opposites are deafness and blindness. Now if you notice, the third category, the author gave a rational reason, didn't he? He gave a rational evidence for Allah's will, His omnipotence, etc. But down here, he hasn't. What has he done now? He's given a Quranic verse. Have you noticed? Page 78. You know the sifat, the seven attributes are there. The third category, how many attributes do they have? 7. The first 5 that we studied, he didn't give a Quranic verse.
Yeah.
He only gave the rational reason. That look, if Allah is Qadir, Allah has Qudra. If he doesn't have Qudra, then this is the opposite. That's impossible because of the creation we see. But down here, he hasn't mentioned anything like that. He just mentioned the evidence is a Quranic verse. Why is this? The reason this is because a lot of scholars, from the ulama, from the Ash'ari especially, they say that hearing and seeing is not based on rationale. It's based on Quranic verse. Hearing and seeing. Why is it based on Quranic verse, not rationale? Because knowledge covers hearing and seeing. Knowing everything. Rationally speaking, that also covers hearing and, because also objective of hearing and seeing, gaining knowledge. So when you say Allah is omniscient and He knows everything, that also includes hearing and seeing. But because the Quran mentioned these two qualities, that's why they mentioned them separately. Yes? Everybody understand? MashaAllah. We're doing good. Alhamdulillah. Now, last but not least, this quality is from the third category. So, how many have we done now? 6. From the third category. Where we establishing, yes, we established Allah's will, Allah's qudra, so His omnipotence, His irada, His will, His haya, life, and hearing and seeing, and what was the other one? Knowledge. Now the last one, Allah's speech. Now this is an interesting one. Everybody has to listen to this one. Allah's speech, al-kalam, what does the author say? Is necessary for Him. It is a pre-eternal attribute subsisting through His entity that is not of letters or sounds. Allah's sifa of kalam does not have no letters, no sounds. Why? Because letters and sounds are created.
Yeah, they need space and.
They're created, innit? You say a sentence now, is that pre-eternal? No.
No.
Is that pre-eternal, is it?
No. Because it requires vibration.
It's contingent. It just come into existence now.
Yeah, it's contingent.
So now I was going to ask what the Quran is made of letters. We'll do that now. The proof for that is His statement. The Quran, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا, and Allah spoke to Musa directly. Its opposite is muteness, i.e. Dumbness. Listen very carefully. I don't want anybody to misquote me here. This is a sensitive topic. Let me just finish my tea. The Aqidah of the Ahl Sunnah, let me make this very clear from the onset. In case any Salafi is listening. We believe Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the Kalam of Allah is not created. Yes? The Kalam of Allah is not created. Quran is not created. The Quran is not created. The actual Kalam, meaning the quality of Kalam of Allah, is not created. It doesn't have letters or voices or speech or sounds like the ulama mentioned. That is called the Kalam Nafsi. What is it called? Kalam Nafsi. Kalam Nafsi is the actual attribute of Allah, the speech of Allah, which we cannot comprehend. Of course, we can't comprehend many things about Allah because Allah is Allah. That's why the ulama say, La ya'lamullah illallah. Nobody knows the reality of Allah except Allah. Yes, we can understand the concept of Allah, but we cannot understand it. He has no beginning, He has no end. These things are very difficult for us to understand because we are human. So the actual speech of Allah has no beginning. It has no end. Like the 5 qualities negating. It has no beginning, it has no end. It's completely similar to the creation. The creation has what? Letters, sounds, etc. It's completely independent. It doesn't need anything extra. It doesn't need a tongue. It doesn't need sounds or waves or whatever. And is one. It doesn't change. This is called Kalam Nafsi. The second type of Kalam that we have is also referred to the Kalam of Allah, but it's not actual. Meaning, actual in the sense, it's not the actual attribute of Allah. It represents the attribute of Allah. It's Kalam Lafzi. Kalam, the speech which is in words. The words you and I speak. So when I speak, when I say Alhamdulillah, is this Alhamdulillah created?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Why? I just said it now.
It's yours, isn't it?
Yeah. If I write Alhamdulillah,
Yeah.
if I write Alhamdulillah on a piece of paper and I say to you, this is pre-eternal. You know what? You saw it right now.
Yeah.
What does pre-eternal mean? It doesn't have a beginning. It's never been created. But you've seen it printed in Saudi Arabia, printed in South Africa, the Quran. 2020. Do you understand? Now listen very carefully. The Quran says, Aqim as-salah. Established. Are these words created? Yes.
In the Quran, yeah.
They're created.
Yeah.
But the meanings that we understand from Aqim as-Salah, not the word, the meanings that we understand from Aqim as-Salah is same as the meanings that you will understand from Allah's actual speech.
Okay.
So the meanings that you understand from the words of the Quran, the meanings that you understand from the words of the Quran is similar to if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uplifted the veil of unseen. Yeah? If Allah uplifted the veil of unseen, then we would understand the same from the meanings of the words, the meaning, whatever the meaning is, and the meaning from Allah's actual speech. But Allah's actual speech is freed from letters, etc. But of course, can we understand a kalam without letters and speech?
No.
That's what the Quran says, subhanallah. Look, listen to this. What does the Quran say? Hamim wal kitab al mubin. Allah takes oath. Wal kitab al mubin. Inna ja'alnahu. Indeed, we have made it, meaning the actual kalam of Allah, we have turned it into Qur'anan Arabiyya, into Arabic language, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ, so you can understand. So the actual kalam was put into Arabic language so we can understand the kalam of Allah. Can we understand the kalam of Allah without any letters and sounds?
We can't say.
We can't.
No.
That's what the Quran says. Inna ja'alnahu. Indeed, we have made it, meaning the actual kalam of Allah, Qur'anan Arabiyyan, into a Quran which is Arabic language, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ, so you may understand. Inna anzalnahu Qur'anan Arabiyyan la'allakum ta'qilun. Opening verse of Surah Yusuf. Indeed, we have revealed it, meaning the actual Quran, the kalam of Allah, into Arabic language. What's the opposite? If we say these words are also doesn't have a beginning, that means Arabic language is not created. Is Arabic language created?
No.
Yes. Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's kalam doesn't change, does it? So Allah gave Musa alayhi salam Tawrat, Isa alayhi salam Injil. What changed? The letters. The Quran, يُحَرِّفُونَ الْكَلِمَ عَمَّ مَوَاضِعِهِ. They used to insert interpolation and change the letters and the words around. If the actual words is also the kalam of Allah, then why did it change? Allah's kalam can't change. But with the Quran, Allah's taken responsibility to also protect the letters too. That's why it's a miracle. Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu. That the meaning is also protected. That's of course Allah said I will protect the words too. So the Quran is a miracle. You don't think the Quran is a miracle. Allah chose the language of the Quran, and Allah chose the words of the Quran too. And that's why it's a miracle. But the actual kalam of Allah doesn't have speech, letters and sounds. And we also call this as a Quran too. It doesn't mean the printed in South Africa is created as a... No, this is also Quran. Why? Because it represents that Quran. It represents that. That's why the sanctity, that you don't touch it without wudu, etc., 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 etc. The hukam is Quran. Yes, we call it Quran. This is obviously a Aqidah lesson. That's what I'm explaining this. We don't go around and say, this is kalam, lafzi, and no, we don't do that in bayans. It's Quran and we protect it. It's the word of Allah, we say it. But literally speaking, the word of Allah doesn't have. And this is understood from the Quran. And this was a very big fitna. Very big fitna. That's why the science of Aqidah is called, I told you in the beginning, Kalam. The science of Aqidah. Why is it called Kalam? Allama Taftazani gives 8 reasons. One of the reasons is that because this was such a hot topic, that whether Allah's word is created or not, and so many ulama give their lives that the entire science of Aqidah was named after this one topic, Ilmul Kalam. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahmatullah alayhi was shaheed for this. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahmatullah alayhi did not go into the discussion. lafzi and nafsi, he didn't do that. He just said the kalam of Allah is not created. Khalas. Which we believe. The kalam of Allah, like we've read, is not created. And if read in the sifat, what is it? It's pre-eternal attribute. We believe the kalam of Allah is not created. He didn't go into this lafzi and nafsi, etc.
Where do you get these terms from then? So,
The Ash'ari Maturidiyya, they went into this discussion. The Athariyya, the true Atharis, they didn't go into this.
what do they say then?
They just kalam khalas. Kalam is, they didn't go into the distinction, nothing. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal didn't go into this. The Mu'tazilites believed it was created. They actually believe the actual kalam of Allah is created. So they wanted Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal to say the same thing. So he said, no, it's not created. So the king sentenced him to death, and before death to give him 100 or so lashes. And he was 70 plus at the time. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal said, the person who gave me strength at the time was a thief, ex-convict. He was standing there and he heard the sentence and he said to Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, oh Imam, I took lashes too because of the dunya. You take them for the akhirah. And you take them for the deen. He said, I listen to his word and said, subhanAllah, you take them because he stole and he took them. I'm taking them for the ummah. That's what they call it, Imam Ahlul Sunnah. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. They call it Imam Ahlul Sunnah because he went through a lot of sacrifice because of this issue. So this is a very thingy topic. So the Ash'ari don't believe the Quran is created. Yes. What we say is the words that me and you articulate, they're created. They can't be pre-eternal. It's not logically absurd. Yes? Have you heard this before?
I heard this before.
Alhamdulillah. Are you saying that the Quran are the words of Allah that have been translated in Arabic so man can understand it as Allah has no letters or sounds? Yes, not translated, revealed. Inna ja'alnahu Qur'anan Arabiyyan, like the Quran mentions. Allah revealed the Quran into the Arabic language. Because as humans, we cannot understand the kalam of Allah which has no letters and sounds. That's why Allah says, the reason I've revealed this, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. This is the reason Allah has given, so you can understand. And Allah chose the Arabic language, and then the composition of the language, and the grammar, etc. is also a mu'ajiza, is a miracle. And the preservation of the Quran, etc. No.
So, brother, when we're talking about the Quran,
Yes.
so, this third category, the Quran actually falls into this third category.
Yes.
And we're looking at the lenses through.
Yes. Yeah. But when we say Quran and Kalam, Quran is referring to the actual speech of Allah. Kalam is referring to the actual speech of Allah. But of course, we call this Quran too because this is Quran for us. We can't understand that Quran with no letters and sounds. This represents that. And Allah revealed it in this language. Do you understand? We're not saying this is not the Quran, this is also the Quran. Yes, but we're understanding the actual attributes of Allah. So Alhamdulillah, we're doing the first three categories. Now we're on the last category. Last category is basically what we just already done. What is it? That's why a lot of the scholars only mention three categories, but this scholar has mentioned the fourth one. The difference is, let's look at it, the fourth category. In the third category, what do we say? Allah has qudra. So if Allah has qudra, what does that mean? He is qadir. That's what the fourth category is. It's just a repetition of the third one, but into different scale. So if Allah has qudra, He is qadir. If Allah has ilm, He is alim. Ilm means knowledge. Alim means the one who possesses knowledge. Qudra means power. Qadir means the one who possesses power. If Allah has basar, He is basir. If Allah has eyesight, then He is basir. If Allah has sam', He is sami', the one who hears. Yes? So the fourth category, what is the fourth category? The fourth category is repeating the third category again, but with the word of possession. Because we just say Allah's got qudra, that means He's qadir. Allah's got sam, that means He's sami'. Once you've established the third category, fourth category is automatically, there's no need. If I establish sitting for myself, that means I am sitting. It's obvious, isn't it? This person has got power, means he's powerful. If he has knowledge, he is knowledgeable. But the reason the some ulama mentioned this fourth category because it has come with these wordings in the Quran. It's come with these wordings. And those ulama that have rejected the fourth category, the reason they've rejected the fourth category, not na'udhu billah because they don't believe Allah to be qadir and basir, is they say there's no need for the fourth category because they're intrinsically already included in the third one. There's ikhtilaf amongst the scholars in this. But it's semantics, there's no difference because at the end of the day it's all the same. Yes? Does everybody understand what the fourth category is?
So the third one is
Qualitative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Establishing. So what would the fourth?
It's same. Yes.
So what was the purpose of the fourth?
That's what I'm saying. The purpose of the fourth is because they've come with those wordings in the Quran. It hasn't come with the word qudra in the Quran. It's come with qadir, hasn't it? That's why. Just stick to the Quranic text. But most of the scholars don't actually recognize this fourth category to be a separate set of qualities. They say they are included in the third one.
And so it's a form of proof from the Quran.
Yes, like this, yes. Okay. So page 80. His being all powerful. Yes, that's qadir. Is necessary for him. The proof for that is that we've already been through the proofs in the last 7. The proof for that is the proof of ability. Its opposite is his being unable. Number 2, his being willing is necessary for him. The proof for that is the proof of will. Yes, we don't need irada. So if he's got irada, then he's murid. Yes, its opposite is his being compelled. His being all-knowing. Al-alim. We've done al-ilm. So if Allah's got knowledge, then he's all knowing. Is necessary for him. The proof for that is the proof of knowledge. Because we've done that he has knowledge. So if he's got knowledge, then he's already also alim, intrinsically, inevitably. Its opposite is his being ignorant. His being living. We've proven that he has life. So if he has life, if he has hayat, then he's hayyun. Yes? His being living is necessary for him, subhanahu ta'ala. The proof for that is the proof of life. Its opposite is his being dead, meaning his zat, his essence. His being all hearing and all seeing is necessary for him. The proof for that are the proof of hearing and proof of sight. The opposites are his being deaf and his being blind. His being one who speaks. If Allah has speech, then he is one who speaks. Is necessary for him. Mutakallim, yes? The proof for that is the proof of speech. Its opposite is being mute. So this, Taif, do you understand this? Fourth category is basically, yes.
Yes, so if this is being proved from the Quran, how come there's no Quranic ayats to use that?
No, they've given Quran ayat before this in the thingy. If you look at the thingy.
No, but within this particular section.
Yeah, they don't give it. They don't, not in this work anyway. They usually give in the bigger works, but down here, just looking at the categories and the types.
So the original book, they did give the Quranic ayats.
Yeah, Quranic ayats. They have Quranic ayats. Even if in annotations, if you look at the third category, they've given Quranic ayats for each sifa under the sifa. So you'll see in there, inshallah, too. So we've studied what is rationally necessary for Allah, yes, and what's rationally impossible. What's rationally impossible? The opposite of these 20. The opposite of these 20 are rationally impossible. So what's rationally necessary for Allah? These 20 qualities in 4 categories. And what's rationally impossible? The opposite of these 20. As we've studied, when we said the opposite is this, opposite is this. All those opposite are the rationally impossible ones. Okay? Yes.
So when Allah says that He does not like the disbeliever, at the same time He has an attribute of being all-loving. So how does that
Sorry? Yeah.
Allah says
Yes.
that he
So
does
all
not-
loving down here, obviously, what does all loving here mean? All loving is not the loving that we have. What's our loving? Our heart is inclined, emotion. Does Allah have that? Na'udhu billah? No. So all loving, that's what scholars explain all loving that Allah's rewards. When he said all loving, it means the natija, the result. So if Allah is all loving, what does it mean? That He will reward in result. In return, He will reward for the action. That's what I mean. It doesn't mean the loving that me and you have, because what's the linguistic meaning of loving? Inclination of the heart, rising of emotions. That's not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does it mean? It means rewarding. And rewarding is to do with the qudra of Allah. Allah can reward. He has the power to reward with Jannah. He has the power to reward different variants. It comes under qudra. Imam Ghazali has discussed this in detail, how each quality is linked to one of these 20. A lot of the qualities come under qudra. Allah's omnipotence, the power to do everything. You understand? طيب. 82. The last section was rationally possible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So والجائز في حقه تعالى. Doing or leaving anything possible is possible for Allah. Anything that is possible in and of itself. The existence meaning. Anything that the existence in and of itself is possible, Allah has qudra over this. That's why I told you that Allah's qudra is only linked with the possibilities. Remember I said this?
Yeah, guys.
Jais. The proof is that if doing or leaving something was necessary upon him, the possible would become either necessary or impossible, which is impossible. Yani, if something that's possible, if it became necessary, or something that was impossible, it became possible, what is that doing? That's changing the realities.
Yeah.
And changing realities in and of itself is impossible.
Yeah.
Yes? Now, so Allah has the power to do everything that is possible. And what does possible mean? Its existence and non-existence equally perceivable. This is a very basic level. You know, sometimes I used to study kalam and mantiq with my teacher. I used to get out of class and my head used to hurt. My head used to literally hurt. I used to go home, sit down and like have a cup of tea and think, oh, literally my brain starts hurting. Yeah. This is very basic level. It's introduction to Islamic Creed. Alhamdulillah.
I'll have a good sleep tonight.
Any questions?
With paracetamol.
Paracetamol. Possible.
Obviously, all of this, the way they broke it down later on, the ulama. During the time of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Sahabas didn't.
Yeah. Like the Sahaba never had hadith sahih, zaif. Sahaba never had ghunna, ikhfa. They never had faraiz, wajibat, sunan.
So they had,
None of the sciences existed in the time of the Sahaba.
so they
This was a need afterwards for the ummah.
yes, so they had all of this understanding
Yes.
within them, without
Yes.
laying it out.
So
This was through the barakah of the Prophet ﷺ, through the barakah of the wahi.
This is our creed, like what you mentioned about like for instance, when you said about the creed, the Quran is not created. Now, if I if you didn't tell me this and somebody was arguing, I wouldn't know this. It's not something. It's not a topic for me to
That's why you come to the course.
But I'm saying generally,
Generally.
a lot of Muslims we'd be stumped.
You will be shocked.
So if somebody by accident says no, it's okay, then I agree, it's created, what will happen to him?
Tawbah, inshallah.
No, but if he doesn't know,
He doesn't know, he'll be ma'adhur, inshallah.
okay.
Inshallah. The evidence is the hadith of Bukhari, where the person,
Yeah.
a father told his children that after I die, burn my body and throw the ashes half in the sea and half on land. You've heard this hadith?
Yes, yes.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gathered his body together and said, why did you do this? He said, Ya Allah, out of fear. What did Allah do? Enter Jannah. But his understanding of Qudra was distorted. He thought in his mind that Allah will not be able to gather him. This is against innahu ala kulli shay'in qadir. But he was forgiven because of jahl. He didn't know. So Allah is merciful. Inshallah. So some of these topics, any questions, Basil? Some of these topics, a few years ago, I would have been very reluctant to discuss. But now you see them in Hyde Park, people discussing.
Yeah.
I think, you have to discuss these topics. Just a few weeks ago, there was I watched this video, subhanallah, and I thought, it was a Christian guy. He was debating one of our brothers from Hyde Park. I'm not going to say his name. And that Christian guy, he kept on asking this person. He said, tell me, he said his name, he said, tell me, is it rationally possible for Allah to come inside the heavens? Listen to this. Christian saying this. Can Allah come inside the sky physically? Do you know why he was asking this question?
Traffic.
The whole debate between them two was that is it possible for God to come inside Jesus? Na'udhu billah. Because the doctrine of Trinity.
Trinity, yeah.
That can God come inside Jesus? So that guy had a Salafi background. So this Christian knew. So he said, can you tell me, is it rationally possible for Allah, he said Allah, to come inside the heavens?
Yeah.
Because once he says yes, it's possible, once you've accepted that it's possible for God to dwell inside creation, then it doesn't make a difference whether there is a person or heavens, because they're both creation.
Yeah.
And now that guy, so you need to watch this, it's so funny, because no, according to the Ash'ari, it isn't. He said, no, I'm not asking about the Ash'ari opinion, I'm asking about your opinion. Listen to this. It's on YouTube.
Yeah. Hadith comes from Lois Towns, isn't it?
So now, because the guy had a Salafi baggage with him,
Yeah.
he knew that, oh no, if I say yes, and that's it.
Yeah.
Finito, what's the point debating about this?
Yeah.
Because he just accepted also Allah can come inside the creation, Allah can come inside the place and space.
Yeah.
Whether that place and space is a body form or is it heaven, sky. Obviously, they don't understand the hadith of nuzul, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends, that they don't understand the hadith amongst the mutashabihat.
How would you explain that then? Was that the Zul from the Lois Towns?
So look, there's a narration of nuzul. So look, first forget the explanation of the hadith. What is the objective of the hadith?
It's the Tahajjud.
Tahajjud. The objective of the hadith is that people wake up in the latter part of the night and they ask Allah.
Yeah.
Those who debate that does Allah come or doesn't come, both of them don't wake up at tahajjud. They just debate and they don't overcome. The objective is to encourage a person to wake up at that time, because at that time dua is accepted. That's the objective of the hadith.
Yeah.
The Sahaba never understood it, that Allah physically comes. They understood from the hadith that, okay, this is a blessed time, you should wake up and make dua. So in one hadith, in hadith of Nasa'i, authentic, the addition is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not come, an angel comes and makes the announcement. Angel comes and makes announcement. Now, is there anybody there to ask for forgiveness, etc.? Also, down there, nuzul, according to Imam Malik, it means Allah's mercy descends more at that time of the night. It doesn't mean Allah literally comes with his body, not body, but with his entity.
Yeah, exactly.
Allah literally comes with his entity, astaghfirullah. Nobody believes this from the Ahl Sunnah. Even Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, the true Aqidat Athariya is not this. If you're going to take it literally, what about the Quranic verse? Huwa ma'akum aynama kuntum. Allah is with you wherever you are. Huwa comes from what? Entity, doesn't it? In the Arabic language, when you refer to someone, you refer with huwa. When you refer to someone's entity, what do you refer to? Huwa. You don't say dhalika, you say huwa, because huwa comes for entity, that. So Allah says very clearly, huwa. that Allah's entity is with you wherever you are. But did they take that literally? No. Why not? Who aqrabu ilaykum min hablil warid. He, huwa, and Allah's entity is more closer to you than your jugular vein. Did they take that literally?
No.
So why take the hadith of nuzul literally? I don't understand. That's what Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi alayhi mentions, that the anthropomorphists, they do ta'wil, but they only do it when they like it. They also have to do ta'wil. Oh, nuzul, it doesn't mean this. It means Allah's mercy. Oh, brother Akhi, you're doing ta'wil. Yeah, well, you've done ta'wil like 100 places in the Quran. What's the difference? What's the difference? Taking the metaphorical meaning is the beauty of the Quran. Taking the metaphorical meaning is the beauty and the ijaz of the Quran, the miracle of the Quran. You cannot take everything literally. That's why Shaykh bin Baz, may Allah forgive him and have mercy on him, he was blind, wasn't he? So one of the scholars said to him, he said, why do you take everything literally? So the scholar said to him, "Man kana fi hadhi a'ma fa fil akhirati a'ma." Whoever is blind in this world will be blind in the akhirah.
That's just,
Is that low below?
yeah, that's a bit, yeah.
No, but it's true. It's a true story. Shaykh bin Baz, he was actually blind, yes.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
May Allah have mercy on him. May Allah forgive him.
I know.
He was dumbfounded. He had no answer.
Yeah.
But what does blind mean there? Blind, literally blind. No?
Yeah.
Exactly. You can't take literally. You can't take the Quran literally all the time. There's certain places where you take literally, yes, because it's very clear. There's certain places you don't take literally because of the context is clear. And language. This is language. We're talking about language here.
Yeah.
Arabic language is like language. Every language you have, we have this, don't we? I need help. Can you give me a hand? Don't give me a physical hand. Let me take your hand. It's just this is how language is. So any questions on this? Alhamdulillah, we covered this. Okay, next. Now the matters of prophethood. Nabawiyat. Yes? Truthfulness. As-sidq is necessary for the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are 4 qualities which are rationally necessary for the Anbiya alayhim salatu wassalam, as we're going to discuss. The first one is truthfulness. As-sidq is necessary for the messengers alayhim wassalam. The proof for that is, were they to lie, then Allah's report of them being truthful will have been false, which is impossible. Its opposite is lying. Anbiya alayhim salatu wassalam, who said they're Nabi? Allah. Through the challenge of the Quran, through the miracles. So if they're representing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they're lying now with the billah, it means Allah was lying. Yes? Quranic verses to do with this in the annotations. So that's the first quality. So we know, the aqeedah of the Ahlul Sunnah, that all the Anbiya alayhim salatu wassalam are truthful. Second quality, which is rationally necessary for the Anbiya, is trustworthiness. Page 84. Trustworthiness. Al-amana is necessary for them. The proof for that is, were they to commit forbidden haram or detestable makruh acts, then we would have been ordered to do the same, since we have been commanded to follow them. And it is not valid, i.e. it is absurd that we are ordered to do something forbidden or detestable. Its opposite is treachery. Because we are told to follow the Anbiya, aren't we? In the Quran, we are told to follow the Anbiya alayhim salatu wassalam. And if we are told to follow the Anbiya alayhim salatu wassalam, then we have to follow them in all their matters. Therefore, we have to trust them in everything they do. Yes? Now, that was number 2. So we have truthfulness, we have trustworthiness, and inside this, we believe as the Ahlul Sunnah, we believe as the Ahlul Sunnah, the Anbiya alayhim salatu wassalam are free from committing sins. They're ma'asum. They are what? Ma'asum, they're infallible. And those Quranic verses or those ahadith which ostensibly or apparently postulate and suggest that the Anbiya committed a sin, they are not sin. They are not understood as sin. For example, regarding Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, because the word sin in the Arabic English language has a very restricted meaning. Allah says in the Quran, وَعَصَىٰ آدَمُ رَبَّهُ فَغَوَىٰ. Yes? وَعَصَىٰ آدَمُ رَبَّهُ فَغَوَىٰ. Asa is from isyan, ma'siyah, which a lot of people translate as sin. The Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, what did he do with his Lord? If you take the literal translation, ma'siyah means sin. But down here, ma'siyah does not mean sin. Why doesn't it mean sin? The reason it doesn't mean sin, because what's sin? Sin is something you do deliberately do. Intentionally. This is in English, sin is something that you deliberately, knowingly do, is a sin you do. In Arabic, that's not the same. That's why Allah says regarding Adam alayhi salam, the fanasiya walam najid lahu azma. In the same verse, that he had forgotten and he had no intention. Lam najid lahu azma. He had no intention. We did not find any intention for him. So is that a sin? What is that? That's a mistake. That's a human error. There's a difference between a human error and a sin. Do you understand? So in terms of theology and aqidah, in Amana, we believe that the Anbiya cannot make sin. Why? Because if Anbiya can make sins, now with the life they committed sin, and we are told them to follow them all the time, then that means we have to follow them in. And that's absurd, because the Quran is clear. Do you understand? So the aqidah of the Ahlul Sunnah is that, and this every verse, ulama have written books on this where they've explained these verses in the context, correct understanding. Because you know, sometimes translation in English, you can just not just do the translation. You need to have Arabic background. Because Arabic is a very rich language. It has several meanings. And sometimes the translation is only one word. So when you translate, this is one of the reasons I always say this. You know, one of the things that unfortunately what's happened is books like Bukhari have been translated in English. I remember thinking, oh, that's a good thing, isn't it? It is a good thing, yes, but it's not a good thing too. Why is that? Because Imam Bukhari, when he had written Bukhari, he did not read it for a beginner. He wrote it for people who are masters in the science of hadith, who have got knowledge in the science of hadith. Or they'll understand. It's like a dermatologist writing a book for students of dermatology and medicine. They'll understand. This is the science. But then what happened? That book is being read by laymen. That's what happened, isn't it? So now books that have been translated, these high caliber books have been translated in the English language, which is fine. But what happens then? Number one, the language is restricted because the Arabic, the Bukhari, the understanding that Imam Bukhari tried to convey, that no longer remains in the translation. So the word in Arabic might have 8 meanings, but in English it's only got 1 meaning. That's number one. And number two, every person has access to them, so they don't feel the need to study with the teacher. Why is it that every Islamic institute and seminar in the world study Bukhari after 7, 8, 9 years last year? There must be a reason for this. So khair, anyway, just mentioning that it's rationally impossible for the Anbiya to commit. And that is the reason. Because if they commit sin, then what will happen? We are told to follow them all the time, and then we can't follow them in sin. So those Quranic verses, those ahadith which seem like the Anbiya made a sin, they're not sin really. Like the verse I give you regarding Adam alayhi salam. فَنَسِيَ وَلَمْ نَجِدْ لَهُ عَزْمًا. He had no intention. And many other verses. Imam Razi rahmatullah alayhi has got a book, is in Arabic, Ismatul Anbiya. Ismatul Anbiya. The infallibility of the prophets. And he, in there, has discussed and debated all those verses and those ahadith which apparently, ostensibly postulate and suggest that the Nabi committed a sin. But it's not a sin. There's a difference between committing a sin and a human error. Yes? Okay. Did you ask a question?
was going to say, how do you translate asad then? It's mistake.
Yeah, because it's fanasiya. The verse after fanasiya, walam najid lahu azma. Sin has intention. Sin has deliberate intention. Forgetting is not a sin. And the Quran, so it's explaining, Quran is explaining the word asad. Fanasiya, walam najid lahu azma.
Yeah. Similarly, that darba Musa.
Exactly.
Okay.
All these. Imam al-Razi is, mashallah, he is, Allah give him Jannatul Firdaus on behalf of the Ummah. If it was because of these scholars, don't know where we will be. Subhanallah. Hafiz ibn Taymiyyah, Imam didn't really like Imam Razi. Number 3, conveying, page 85, conveying the third quality of the Nabi, which is rationally necessary. Conveying what they are, the word ordered to convey to creation. تبليغ ما أمروا بتبليغه للخلق is necessary for them. The proof for that is, were they to conceal any part of what they were ordered to convey, then we too would have been ordered to conceal knowledge. Obviously, if the Anbiya then conceal knowledge, then we have to conceal knowledge because we are ordered to follow the Anbiya. And it is not valid, i.e. absurd, that we be ordered to conceal knowledge because the conceal of knowledge is cursed, as mentioned in the hadith. Its opposite is concealing that, meaning knowledge. Number 4, fourth quality, which is rationally necessary for the Anbiya. And then we'll have a small break, inshallah. Really finished? I didn't finish before time today. Inshallah. Mubarak. We'll take some questions. I know you had a few questions about Hayat al-Nabi or something.
Yeah.
We'll take a few of these questions, inshallah. Number 4, astuteness, sagacity, intellect. Astuteness means what? Fatana, intellect, sagacity. This is also necessary for them. The proof for that is, were they not astute, they would not have been able to establish a proof against their opponent, which is impossible because the Quran has shown them establishing proofs against their opponents in several instances. Its opposite is dim-wittedness. The story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Namrud in the Quran. Alam tara ila alladhi haja Ibrahim fi rabbina. They had a mini debate. Imam Ghazali goes, this is a debate. Munadhara is established from here. Ilzami answer, accusative response. When Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam introduced him Allah, he said, my Allah is the Allah who gives life and death. This is Surah Al Imran, Surah Baqarah. قال أنا أحيي وأميت. So Namrud came, got 2 people. One was sentenced to death, and the other was supposed to be exonerated. So he killed the one that was innocent, and the one that was guilty, let him free. He goes, look, I give life and death. So Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam said, okay, my Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes out the sun from the mashriq, east, and then sets in the maghrib. You do the opposite. فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ. He was dumbfounded. He had no answer. So this way of argumentation, and there's many other verses like this, it shows that the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam had sagacity and intellect, and they were astute in their da'wah. Yes?
No.
Then the author says, any human conditions that do not detract from their high status, such as illness and the like, are possible for them. The proof for that is witnessing it, the people really, at the time they witnessed this in them, alayhim salatu wasalam. So all those things, illnesses that do not deduce their rank. Unlike the ulama say, in some aqaid books, it doesn't create nafra and dislike. You know, it's illness that creates nafra and dislike. They're free from this. Any normal illness, any other, that's fine. But that illness or that defect which lowers their rank or creates that nafra and that dislike for the person, that is impossible for the Anbiya. You know all these stories you hear about Ayyub alayhi salam.
Yeah. That's,
Khalas, finish, the mawdu, fabricated.
yeah.
Israeliyat. Allah our muqarrin hazrat. They say on the minbar and they're crying. They haven't studied Aqidah properly. They say this in bayans. These are, we should stay away. Imam Sunusi rahmatullah alayhi has walloped people like this really badly in his book. He gets really emotional. Like, what is this? Where have they got this from? Yes, he went through a test. Quran is mentioned, he went through the test, but he doesn't mention anything else apart from that. They get this, there's not a single authentic hadith regarding the nature of the Ayyub alayhi Islam's test. And they get these from the different tafasir with no sanad, no sar, no pair. There's no sanad, no chain of transmission. Some are fabricated, some are Israeliyat. And we should be careful regarding the sha'an and the rank of Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam. And we should stay away from these narrations.
About his illnesses.
Yes, you hear there's so many stories about his illnesses, Ayyub alayhi salatu wasalam.
He had this skin problem, something.
Yeah, leprosy, that's what they said.
And all these really, like, you know,
So Imam Sunusi and the other Imam mentioned any marad, any illness that will lead to deficiency in their rank, or like Imam Sunusi mentioned, creates nafra, dislike, when you don't want to
go anywhere.
because of that, la ilaha illallah. That's impossible for the Anbiya.
So,
Because Anbiya, their objective is dawah. They have to mix in with people all the time. Yes? There was no WhatsApp back in then, or internet. Sometimes you hear these stories from those emotional muqarririn. I can't say those bayans. Like, oh, that cringe-worthy. No, but this is one of the things. One of the ilal, and the reason the ulama gave that people fabricate stories is to say something strange. Al-iqrab. And people listen to all these Maulvi stuff next level. I've never heard any other Maulvi saying it. If you haven't heard anybody else saying what he's saying, then there's a problem. People hear new things. Hear new things and keep new names. Maulvi said, tell me a name I want to keep for my child. Nobody else kept. I said, Farouq. Keep Farouq, keep Shaitan. Nobody's kept. I don't know anybody keeping their son named Shaitan and Farouq. Give me a name that nobody's kept. Have you heard this before? Subhanallah. So likewise, fabricating stories and narrations. You get many speakers, they do this just to get the crowd emotional and to make haram, my dear friends. If it's deliberately done, then there's big wa'id for this. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man kadhaba alayhi muta'ammidan falyatabawwa maq'adahu min an-nar kama qala sallallahu alaihi wasallam." Whoever deliberately lies upon the Prophet Islam should make his final destination the fire of Jahannam. So in narrating things, especially about the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, we should be very careful. Very careful. I know many people don't like listening to dry bayans. They want something spicy, but there's a lot of bad consequences if you're making things, spicy just for the sake of masala. طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Final section, inshallah, 5-10 minutes, and then we'll take a Q&A, inshallah. MashaAllah. It is necessary, page 88. It is necessary for an individual to know the Prophet's lineage from his father. Now, down here, necessary down here, it doesn't mean if you don't know, you are, it's necessary in the sense that we should as believers. This is final conclusion regarding the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he is our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we should know something about him, yes? It is necessary for an individual to know the Prophet's lineage from his father's side and from his mother's side. As for his lineage from his father's side, he is our master Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, son of Abdullah, son of Abdul Muttalib, son of Hashim, son of Abdul Manaf, son of Qusay, son of Kilab, son of Murrah, son of Ka'ab, son of Lu'ay, son of Ghalib, son of Fihr, son of Malik, son of An-Nadar, son of Kinana, son of Khuzaymah, son of Mudrika, son of Ilyas, son of Mudar, son of Nizar, son of Ma'ad, and son of Adnan. And beyond him to Adam alayhi salam, there is no sound chain of narration. Actually, the last third of this narration is unanimously agreed is fabricated. And anybody that would go beyond Adnan, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the hadith in Bukhari, كذب النسابون in Bukhari. Imam Malik says, Allah forgive me, I don't want to quote it, but it's an authentic narration. كذب النسابون, those who are saying the lineage of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam are lying. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam lineage has three main segments. The first segment, from his father to Adnan, which we have read, is authentically proven. Then the middle segment from Adnan all the way to, I forgot the name, is disputed. Then after that, the last segment to Adam alayhi salam is unanimously agreed is fabricated. Now, page 90. As for his lineage, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, from his mother's side, he is our master Muhammad, son of Amina, daughter of Wahab, son of Abd Manaf, son of Zuhra, son of Kilab. Then she joins him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his father, Kilab. So that's where they join. The nasab lineage joins. It is also necessary to know that he has a reservoir. The Prophet ﷺ will have a hawd on the day of judgment. In the year after, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam will intercede in the final judgment, and this specific intercession is unique to him. It's only Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that will do this on the day of judgment, where he will intercede. There's two types of intercession: the shafa'a kubra and sughra. The great intercession is when the day of judgment will begin. All the anbiya, people will approach them, and they will not go to Allah, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam will go and ask Allah for the intercession to begin. Thus, a shafa'a kubra, and the shafa'a sughra, where the Prophet ﷺ will intercede on behalf of people, sinners, great sinners. The hadith of Tirmidhi mentioned Prophet ﷺ said, I was given a choice between two things. Number one, half of the ummah enters Jannah, or second, intercession. I chose the latter. I chose intercession. Why? Because in the first option, only half of the ummah enters Jannah and the other half doesn't. But in the latter option, I can intercede on everybody's behalf. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then the Prophet ﷺ said in the same hadith, do you think this intercession is for the pious people? No. It's for those who used to commit major sins. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It is also necessary to know that the messages explicitly mentioned in the Quran, those that are mentioned in the Quran, we know them. As for the others, it is necessary to know them in general. We have iman, that's why we shouldn't specify a number. We should say approximately 124,000. The different narrations say approximately, so we don't include or exclude anybody. We don't include people like Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani, and we don't exclude any Nabi that is a Nabi. So we say approximately. And then those that are mentioned by name, they're in the Quran, we should know them. Someone has versified the prophets that are specifically necessary to know. So in the Quran, those that have been mentioned by name, they put in a poetry. And it's been translated. Adam, Idris, Nuh, and Hud, Salih, Ibrahim, and Lut, Ismail, Ishaq, Yaqub, Handsome, Yusuf, Patient, Ayub, Shu'aib, don't forget Harun, Musa, Al-Yasa, Abdul Kifl, Dawood, Suleiman, Ilyas, Yunus too, Zakaria, Yahya, and Isa, then the best of the prophets, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Obviously in Arabic, the stanzas is different than the English. English is not the same as Arabic poetry. Then the final section on page 92. It is also necessary to believe that his generation, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is the best generation, the generation of the Sahaba, then the one after it, and then the one after that. The first generation, Imam Abu Hanifa was from which generation? Tabi'i. Allahu Akbar. From the Tabi'i. And the other three Imams from the Taba Tabi'i. So all of the four schools are from the first three generations. Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi was after Khairul Qurun. Imam Muslim was after Khairul Qurun. Imam Dawood was after Khairul Qurun. Thus, whoever reads the translation of Bukhari and Muslim and takes their deen, they're taking their deen after the first generations. G. And an individual should know his children. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They are, in class, one of our students was like, everything you say, somewhat you link it against Salafis. I say it's one of those bad habits, die hard. It takes time. Even it's about, a hadith to do with encouragement, targheeb and tarheeb, somehow there'll be Tajmatul Bab, Imam Bukhari's connection between the hadith and title. So they are according to the sound position our master Al-Qasim, our lady Zainab, our lady Ruqayya, our lady Fatima, our lady Kulthum, our master Abdullah, who was nicknamed the good and pure, yes, Tayyib and Tahir, and our master Ibrahim, all of them are from our lady Khadija, the great, radiyallahu anha, except our master Ibrahim, who was from Maria the Copt, the Egyptian descendant. This is the end of what Allah has facilitated through His bounty and generosity. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the world, and may Allah's blessing and peace be upon our Master Muhammad, his family, and his companions. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashdu an la ilaha illa anta. Just want to mention one quick thing. The three objectives of prophethood. What are the three? Listen very carefully, this is very important. What are the three objectives of prophethood? What are the three purposes that the prophets came? Especially, and namely our brother Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Quranic verse, Ibrahim alayhi salam dua, رَبَّنَا وَبَعَثْ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِكَ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. This dua has come in a few places. Prophet alayhi salam made dua for Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam made dua that Allah sent a prophet amongst them, said Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who will do three things. And these three things are the objectives, the maqasid of nubuwwah. Number one, yatlu alim ayati. The Prophet ﷺ will recite the words of the Quran. Prophet ﷺ will recite. Listen to this there's some deep points in here. Prophet ﷺ will recite the words of the Quran. Yes?
Yeah.
This is objective number one. Yatlu alayhim ayati. Tilawati?
Quran.
Ayat. So what do you recite? Do you recite the words or do you recite the meanings? Words. So first objective is to recite the words of the Quran. Number two, what's the second objective of nubuwwah, prophethood? يُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةِ. Teach them the meanings of the Quran, and hikmah here, Imam Mujahid rahmatullah and others, sunnah. So teach them the meanings of the words of the Quran and sunnah. And number three, وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ tazkiyah, purify them. These are the three objectives of nubuwwah. So let me start with number one. What's number one again? Teaching reciting the words of the Quran. Reciting the words of the Quran. Number two, teaching them the meanings of those words. Teaching them the meanings of
the words.
And number three, tazkiyah. Now the question, listen to it very carefully. There's a doctor from Oxford, I'm not going to say his name, you probably know who he is now. It was a YouTube video, he said, these people learn these surahs, they recite these surahs without knowing the meaning. What's the benefit? Na'udhu billah. Surah Yasin, Surah Waqiyah, yes? This verse obliterates the intellect of this doctor. Because what's the Quran saying? Just reciting the verses of the Quran, not the meaning. Just the mere words of the Quran, this itself you are acting upon the first objective of Nubuwwah. And what's the evidence? The Prophet ﷺ said, I'm not saying don't learn the meaning. What I'm saying, learning, just reciting the verses of the Quran is also beneficial. What's the other hadith? The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever recites one letter of the Quran, they get how many rewards? 10. وَلَا أَقُولْ أَلِفْ لَامْ حَرْف. أَلِفْ لَامْ حَرْف. I'm not saying ألف لام ميم is the letter. Alif is one letter, Lam is one letter, Mim is one letter. Thus you will be rewarded how many times? 30. Just imagine, Allahu Akbar. Which words did the Prophet ﷺ choose? Which letters? Alif Lam Mim. Nobody knows the meaning of these letters. Yani, in other words, even if you don't know the meaning, you should get 10 rewards. Look which words the Prophet ﷺ chose. He chose the huruf mutashabihat. So just by reciting the Quran, only the words of the Quran without knowing the meaning, you are still getting rewarded in the light of the hadith, and you are still acting upon the first objective of Nubuwwah according to the Quran. Yes?
Yes.
Now the question. What's the second objective? The Prophet ﷺ taught them the meanings of those words. Now the question is, when was the Quran revealed? It was revealed at the time where people were masters in the Arabic language. Literally speaking. Well versed. That's why every time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave miracles to the prophets, it was according to the time. That's why mu'ajiza means to make something incapable, to render something incapable. In the time of Musa alayhi salam, what was the talk of the town? Magic. So Allah gave him such miracles that rendered the magicians ajiz, incapable, the glowing hand stuff, etc. In the time of Isa alayhi salam, who was the talk of the town? Medicine, doctor. May doctor Rubai. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him وَأُبْرِئُ الْأَكْمَهَ وَالْأَبْرَص, cured the leper and the born blind, the one that was born blind. وَحْيِ الْمَوْتَى بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ, you could revive the dead with the permission of Allah. No doctor can do this. His miracles rendered what? Incapable, ajiz, mu'jiza. In the time of Sulaiman alayhi salam, who was the talk of the town? Land and turf, hukumat. What did Allah give Sulaiman alayhi salam? Such hukumat that not only ins, even the jinn were with him. رَبِّ هَبْ لِي حُكْمًا لَا يَنْبَغِي لِأَحْدٍ مِّن بَعْدِي, the Quran mentions. In the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the talk of the town was Arabic language and poetry. The girls at the age of 7 would chant, نَحْنُ عَرَبُ وَغَيْرُنَا عَجَمْ. We are Arab and the whole world is Ajam. Ajam literally means one who cannot speak, meaning the whole world is dumb. They could not speak the Arabic language. On the Kaaba, in gold, it was written, Mu'allaqat al-Sab, the 7 poetries that were hanged. On the top of the chart was Imra al-Qais, Qifa nabaki min dhikra habibin wa manzali, bisiqt al-liwa bayn al-dakhul fahumali, فتوضح فمقرات ولم يعف رسمها لما نسجتها من جنوب الشمال. These are the opening stanzas of Imra al-Qais. So what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give Prophet alayhi salam? Quran. The Quran is not poetry, but Allah took the time into consideration. That's why it sounds like rhythm. Al-Qari'ah, Mal-Qari'ah, وما أدراك ما القارئة والنجم إذا هوى ما ضل صاحبكم وما غوى وما ينطق عن الهوى. Yes, إذا الشمس كورت وإذا النجوم كدرت. One by one, those poetries came down when the Quran came. When the Arabs would speak spontaneously, they would sound like thunder and strike like lightning. Their speech was so powerful. Not like the Arabs of today. No. The Bedouin could spontaneously make couplets of poetry. That's how much command they had in the Arabic. So now the question is, why am I saying all this? When the Prophet ﷺ recited the words of the Quran, do you think they understood the meaning? Batao. Did they understand the meaning, yes or no?
Yeah.
Of course. Why did the Prophet ﷺ separately, as second objective of Nubuwwah, teach them the meaning of the Quran? What does that mean? That means, never mind reading the English translation, even if you are master in the Arabic language, you need a teacher to understand the Quran. You need a teacher to understand the Quran. Yes, you can read the translation, you will understand those verses to do with targheeb, tarhib, etc. and ponder. But the Quran is in its entirety and the ahkam, everything, you need a teacher. So you recited the verse, that's the first objective. Now to understand the meanings of those words, you need a teacher. يُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابِ. Now you've understood the meanings of those words. Now to implement those meanings in your life, you also need a teacher. Or yuzakkihim. That's where Pir and Murid comes in. These are 3 objectives of Nubuwwah. When I used to Kandil, I used to say Dawat, Tilawati Ayat. Dawat, that's also Dawat, inviting. Ta'aleem and Tazkiyah. Dawat, Ta'aleem and Tazkiyah. Dawat, Ta'aleem and Tazkiyah. These are the 3 maqasid of Nubuwwah as established in the Quran. And we as students of knowledge should try to endeavor, try to do all 3. Inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability. Is there any questions, inshallah?
You know when you said about having a teacher, you being murid, is this something you have to have?
No.
Some people say that you have to be, you've got to give your bayat to somebody.
You don't have to. It's good to. Okay, the question is, do you have to have somebody where you do bayat with? No, you don't have to. It's good to. It's advisory. Yeah, someone there to guide you, spiritually speaking. And when we say spiritually speaking, we're talking about, spiritual people, not those fake peers. You get a lot of fake peers now too. There was one video going around where that peer sahab was kissing women's hand. He's not peer, he's shaitan ka baap. वो पीर नहीं है, शैतान है वो. Sheikh Peer is a person who is muttabi' sunnah, who is following the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. and he has good akhlaq, good character, taqwa, piety, wara. This is the conditions of a sheikh. This is a condition of a sheikh kamil. Those are there to make money and have loads of halwa. They don't. We should stay. But if you find somebody like this, a scholar or elderly buzurg with his company, Quranic verse, Ya ayyuhalladhina amantu billahi wa kunu ma'as-sadiqin. Stay in the company of the truthful, stay in the company of the pious. It's through suhbah you learn these things. Sometimes you can read your book your entire life, but you will not understand some of the things that you will understand through companionship. And that's why the Sahaba are called Sahaba, because of the suhbah. Sahaba is from suhbah. Or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ji. Yes, brother.
Yeah, there's a quote from many non-Muslims that they keep saying that if God is all loving, he cannot be all powerful. If he's all powerful, he cannot be all loving. So what's the answer to that type of
Ya Allah, this answer. I've got 6 points on this answer. Chain number. Tabligh chain number. The problem of evil or the problem of suffering. This in philosophy. This question was first pioneered by Epicurus. Epicurus is a Christian philosopher in the time of the Greek. At the time of the Greek, he came out with this question in a form of a riddle. That if God is all powerful and all loving, then why do we see suffering in the world? Because if he's all loving, then he can't be all powerful. Because if he's all powerful, then he's not all loving, and then why does he? This like sort of paradox he tried to create. It's called the problem of suffering or the problem of evil. So how do we answer this? That's your question, yes?
Yes.
So this answer I answer in 6 points, usually. And I need to remember the 6 points now, but inshallah it'll come to my mind slowly. Point number 1. Is we say to the atheists that you have misrepresented our God. The entire premises, the entire foundation of your question is wrong. Why? Because no Muslim believes that God is only all-powerful and all-loving. Does any Muslim believe this? Does any Muslim believe that Allah is only all-powerful and all-loving? These are only 2 of His attributes amongst the many of His al-asma wa sifat. We also believe Him to be al-alim, as we studied al-ilm, al-hakim, omniscient. Yes? Al-qadir, al-muqtadir, al-jabbar. So many qualities and attributes of Allah. So what's the first point to this answer? That you have misrepresented our God. No Muslim believes that God is only all-powerful and all-loving. So the entire foundation of your question is wrong. This is enough actually to dismantle the person's argument. That's it, it's finished. Obviously, I will stop there. We'll carry on. Understand the first point? Okay. Second point to this question, or to the answer to this question, is that we ask the atheist to prove. We ask the atheist to prove that every suffering is intrinsically evil. Every suffering is intrinsically bad. Because when they say, why is there so much suffering and problems in the world? What does that mean? That means every type of problem and every type of suffering is bad. But is that the case? How many times have we seen because we suffer, we become better people? A person goes through a test, he becomes closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's careful with everybody. He conducts himself with cautious and scrupulousness. Why? Because of the suffering. Yes? Do you understand the second point?
Yep.
What's the second point? We ask them to prove that every type of suffering is intrinsically bad. Number 3 point. Point number 3. Point number 3, what is the opposite of this argument? When they say, why does all-loving and all-powerful God allow sufferings to or evil to happen? What's the opposite? The opposite of this is, what's the opposite of this? The opposite of this is that there should be no suffering and there should be no evil. Yes? There should be only good. Yes? The opposite notion of this is it should be only good in the world. But if there's only good in the world, there will be no suffering and evil. And if there's no suffering and evil, then people will have they will have the free will to do bad and evil. If you can only do good, do you have free will to do bad then? No. But do we see free will of bad? No. But do we see in the world that people are committing evil and acts? Yes, there is free will, isn't there? So what's number 3? Point number 3 is that this question is against free will. Because when you say, why does God create evil and suffering, that means you want Him only to create good, therefore people will not have the free will to do bad. There's no free will then. So this question number 3 is against what? Free will. Yes? Do you understand so far? Point number 4. Number 4, this question is restricting God's attributes. Is restricting God's power. What's the question? Why doesn't an all-powerful and all-loving God allow suffering and evil? Meaning He should only allow good. So that means God can only create and God can only do good. He can't create evil. That is restricting God's omnipotence, His qudra. Because Allah has qudra to create good and bad. God is not going to listen. Allah is not going to listen to atheists. Only create good. Okay. No. Allah is fa'alu lima yurid. He does what He wishes. Yes? Do you understand this, brother? Point number 4 is what? Restricting God's qudra. You only create good. That's not God though. God by definition, as we study, He has qudra ala kulli mumkinin and irada ala kulli mumkin. Yes? Every possible thing Allah can create. That's number, what point is that?
4.
Point number 5. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran and the Hadith has given reasons. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran and in the Hadith has given reasons why there are problems and sufferings taking place. Sometimes because of test. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِالشَّيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. Because of test. وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Give good news to those who are patient in their tests. In one verse, Allah has mentioned very clearly, ظَهَرَ الْفَسَادُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِي النَّاسِ. The corruption that you see on earth and sea is because of the actions of your own actions. وَمَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُم. Whatever musibah and calamity falls on you is because of your own actions. And even then, وَيَعْفُ عَنْ كَثِيرٍ. Allah mentions that He forgives most of it. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took everybody to an account for whatever they did, the Quran mentions وَلَوْ يُؤَاخِذُ اللَّهُ النَّاسَ بِمَا كَسَبُوا مَا تَرَكَ عَلَى ظَهْرِهَا مِن دَابَّةٍ. There would not be a single living creature on earth. But Allah doesn't, subhanallah. So the Quran, I'm talking to atheists now, the Quran and Hadith gives reasons why suffering takes place, why evil takes place. But then the atheists will say, alright, listen, I'm going on to my 3rd point. My 6th. But even my 6th point has got 3-4 segments. Yeah? I just make these up as I go, so I just show you guys know. So the atheist will say, oh, interesting. Okay, you've given us explanation that why there's suffering evil because of test, because of our bad actions. But what about those cases where we don't understand the reason for the test? A 5-year-old child in Ma'soom Bichara is suffering from cancer. What has he done? What test is he going through? What evil has he done? Or the faqir disbeliever, like Allama Taftazani mentions. the faqir, the poor kafir, mu'adhib fi dunya wal akhirah. He will be punished in this dunya and the akhirah. Why is he punished in this dunya for his poverty and the akhirah? Because of his kufr. Where's the wisdom behind this? Okay, we understand that there's reasons for wisdom, reasons for some problems, but what about these ones? So how do you answer this? So we say to them, look, this is point number 6 is, just because you don't understand the reason doesn't mean there is no reason. Just because you don't understand the wisdom and reason does not mean there is no wisdom and reason. Why? If you, or atheist, want to understand and the wisdom behind every suffering and evil, what does that mean? You are claiming to be God, and that's not going to happen. Because there's only one being, rational, necessary, that is Al-Alim Al-Hakim. Who is that? Allah. And if you want to know the reason and the wisdom behind every suffering and every evil, then you are claiming a tacit claim that you are the divine, and you are not the divine. There's only one divine entity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Quran, Surah Al-Kahf, Surah Al-Kahf is dalil, evidence where, sometimes we don't know the reason, but there's a reason. Which story? Musa alayhi salam and Khazir alayhi salam. When Khazir alayhi salam, he killed that child and he broke that bow. Musa alayhi salam, what are you doing? Afterwards, he explained to him. There was a wisdom and reason behind it, even though looking at it from the outward, the actions seem egregious. So what do we say to him? We say, look, Allah is Al-Hakim and there must be a reason. He is all wise, therefore we delegate our trust to who? The atheist will say, well, that's a cop-out, isn't it? That's a good way to run away from the discussion. So you're saying we just trust the God. Is that what you're saying? We say to him, yes, that's exactly what we are saying. We are telling you to trust an high authority who is Al-Hakim. He's omniscient and all-wise. And you do this on a daily basis. An atheist does this Atheists on a daily basis trust in high authority with higher wisdom and knowledge. For example, they go to the doctor. They don't know anything about medicine, about scan, X-ray. Doctor says you've got this illness. They are servile conformists. They blindly follow the doctor's advice and the doctor's wisdom. Yes? An atheist is sitting inside a plane 30,000 feet high. Pilot makes announcement that there's severe turbulence and we can go through a roof. Sit down, buckle up. Even he will remember Allah at that point. He will sit down without any ifs and buts. He doesn't know anything about turbulence. He doesn't know anything about piloting. Who has he trusted now? Whose wisdom has he trusted? The pilots. Whose knowledge has he trusted? Pilots. The only difference is that atheists trust the knowledge and the wisdom of creation, and we trust the knowledge and wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the only difference. So, 6 points. 10 number. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Alhamdulillah.
Really extensively.
Alhamdulillah. Any question from the sisters?
No. Mention that question regarding Hayat wa Mamat.
Hayat and Mamat of the Prophets. So just to quickly summarize, the question is regarding the lives of the Prophets. So before I go into the lives of the Prophets, it's the Aqeedah of the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Everybody. That when a person dies, regardless of whom they are, regardless of who they are, whether they're Muslim, non-Muslims, Christian, Jew, whoever they are, everybody, their punishment or their reward is upon their body and soul, both. Right? Okay, so you find this in the matan, in the text of the Aqaid. The azab and the thawab, the punishment or the reward that everybody experiences in the next life, what is it on the body and the soul? Now look, the difference is in this dunya, what's primary? Our body. Secondary is soul. In the akhirah, primary is the soul and secondary is the body. So what happens in the akhirah, every soul, their soul experience the fire of Jahannam and their soul or experience the Jannah. They experience those places. They roam around in those places. But those souls are connected with the body in the grave. The souls are connected
Okay.
with the body. Small connection. This is called naw'un min al-haya. What is it called? A type of life. What is it? Type of life. So the soul is connected with the life, with the body. It doesn't have to be entirely the body.
Where is the soul? Like, for example, he leaves the body, where does it go?
So it either goes to Jannah or Jahannam, the experience. This is on the day of judgment that the soul will completely come back in the body and the soul will go together. Look, I'll give you an example. Allama Ibn Qayyim, Madarik Salikin, he gives this example. It's like a person, when we wake up from dua, what dua do we read? From sleeping, sorry, what dua do we read? Alhamdulillah alladhi ahyana ba'da ma amatana wa ilayhi nushur. All praise to Allah who has given us life after. We didn't die, but sleeping is like death. Because what happens in sleep? The soul roams around, but it's connected with the body. That's why what happens? When a person is sleeping, you can't tell, but he's suffering. He's running away from an enemy or lion, and he's panicking and panting. And you can feel the panic and everything, but the people around him, they have a jaya and they're relaxing. They don't even realize what this person is going through. Do you understand? So in the same way, when everybody dies, in their grave, their soul experiences either good or bad, and their body is connected. So no people say, oh, open the grave, let me see if Jannah is there. No, it doesn't mean like that. Yes? And what did I say is one? The soul is connected with some of the
Body.
It doesn't have to be completely connected. So therefore, if the body is burnt, or if the body is eaten by a lion, it doesn't matter. Why? Because it has to be just connected with some part of the remainings of any part of the body. Does everybody understand this? Okay, now.
What's the last part? Connects to the body.
So the soul is connected with any part of the body. So it doesn't, the condition, it doesn't mean the body has to be intact. Yes? If the body decays or if the body is burnt, whatever, the remains are always there. Now, depending on the person, now this is the important part, depending on the person, who the person is, the life increases. So this is normal person, yes? And just to mention, the only person to reject this Aqidah is Ibn Hazm, Hafiz Ibn Hazm. He was the only person, the first person in Islamic history to reject that the punishment reward is on the body and soul. He said it was only on the soul, not on the body. Hafiz ibn Hazm, regarding whom Allama Zahabi mentions in Mizan al-I'tidal that Hafiz ibn Hazm's tongue and Hajjaj bin Yusuf sword are brothers. Okay. Now it depends on the person's rank, the life, it gets stronger and increases. So after normal people, who's the second strongest then? Shuhada, the martyrs. That's why those who die in the battlefield, you're not supposed to bury them, wash their body. They are buried with their body, with the blood and the armor, etc. And the Quran mentions, "La taqulu liman yuqtalu fi sabilillahi amwat." Those that die in the path of Allah, don't say they died. And in one verse, "La tahsabanna alladhina." Don't even imagine those that die in the path of Allah are dead. Bal hum ahya, they are living. Walakin la tash'urun, but you cannot see and you're not aware of their life. And just recently, in 1926, you can Google when those two Sahaba, the grave was moved from the river Tigris. And at that time, the king, he saw a dream again and again. This is well documented. Muftaqi Sahab mentioned this in his book. You'll find it on Wikipedia and Google and everywhere. It was Hazrat Huzayf bin Yaman radiallahu ta'ala, the Sahabi, who got his name. So they went, the king saw in a dream that the water was coming inside their grave again and again. So he did mashwara with the ulama. He said, yes, remove the grave. That's why they kept coming again and again in the dream. So at the time in the Hijaz, Saudi ulama did mashwara. They said, look, we will change the grave, we'll remove the grave, but do it after Hajj, because Hajj period, and we all want to do this together. We want to see this. So they put a big projector up. It was less than 100 years ago. And when they moved the graves, the body was preserved exactly. There was two practitioners, doctors, husband and wife from Germany. They accepted Islam. Because they said when a person dies for 5 or 10 minutes, there's like a radiant in their eyes, and then that disappears after a while. But when these two Sahaba, that light was still there in their eyes. Yes, that's number 2. And it's like the awareness, all our body has awareness, but some awareness is strong in our body, some is less. For example, if you get a needle, if I put a needle in my heel, you will feel it. But if I put that needle in the eye, much worse, isn't it? So the life is there for everyone, meaning that there's a connection of the soul with the body. But then the Anbiya, the Sahaba, the Shuhada at second level. And the highest of level are the Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam. Al-Anbiya ahya'un fi quburim yusallun. The Anbiya are alive in their graves praying salah. The hadith reported by Imam Muslim rahmatullahi alayhi. Authentic hadith. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam al-Mi'raj. And I saw Musa alayhi salam qama fi qabrihi yusalli. He was standing in his grave praying salah. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, whoever gives salawat, salutations from distance, who delivers them? The malaika. And when you do it from close, I personally myself give them answer, jawab. Why do people go and give salawat? Who do you give salawat? Who do you say salam to? A person that's alive or dead? Yes. Yeah.
When we go and give salam to Prophet
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
you also do
Abu Bakr Umar. Yeah, they're alive. They're alive in the graves. Yes.
You know what, that life between the body and the soul, that connection is strong. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, it depends on the connection.
But they're not alive as aware.
No, they're not alive. Like people are, we're alive. It's just different. They're alive meaning the connection of the body, soul with the body, and then the awareness. The Prophet says because I give back jawab. And then the praise salah, Musa alayhi salam, hadith reported by Imam Muslim who's actually praying salah inside his grave. And if you go to Palestine, you will see that area. In the hadith Muslim it says like a red hill, so you will see that red hill in Palestine, where the Musa alayhi salam is buried. Yes?
What is ilahiyat?
Ilahiyat are to do, those things to do with Allah. Those things to do with Allah. Okay? Any more questions? Alhamdulillah, I think everybody wants to go home now. Alhamdulillah. اللهم لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك. اللهم صل على محمد كلما ذكره الذاكرون، اللهم صل على محمد كلما غفل ذكر الغافلون. اللهم انت ربنا لا اله الا انت خلقتنا ونحن عبادك ونحن على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعنا. نعوذ بك من شر ما صنعنا، نبوء لك بنعمتك علينا ونبوء بذنوبنا فاغفر لنا فانه لا يغفر الذنوب الا انت. اللهم ثبتنا على الايمان وامتنا على الايمان واحشرنا يوم القيامه مع المتقين مع الايمان. اللهم طهر قلوبنا من النفاق واعمالنا من الرياء وألسنتنا من الكذب وأعيننا من الخيانة، فإنك تعلم خائنة الأعين وما تخفي الصدور. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا واسعا وعملا متقبلا والشفاء من كل داء. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من جهد البلاء ودرك الشقاء وسوء القضاء وشماتة الأعداء. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية في الدنيا والآخرة. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.